G'day and welcome to On The Esky, a sports podcast where we like to wrap up the week that was in sport, drink a few Frothington Sundars, if you don't mind, and talk some absolute dribble. Big show planned for today. Lots of Test cricket, Australia, Pakistan, India, Sri Lanka, West Indies, England. Rugby League is back. Rugby League. We'll recap the first week that just finished over the weekend here and look at the round two matchups. Quick review of the weeks that were in the NBA and soccer. And then a massive, massive bombshell today in the NFL. Dun, 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 dun. Brady's coming back. Season 23 at the Bucks. A very happy man on my right there. Plus trades galore. Happy man on my left too.
Yes. Well, you're happy as well.
Picked up Russell Wilson, and Aaron Rodgers hanging around Green Bay. Let's go. We'll then have a look at UFC 272. Covington getting the win over Masvidal there. Mm-hmm. The F1 just around the corner. Starts next weekend. And for the last hour of the show, we have the AFL starting this weekend. We'll get our Adelaide correspondent, Mickey the Reverend Steamson, the Ginger Ninja, and AFL fantasy guru himself. Try to get him on the phone to help us preview the upcoming AFL season. Hopefully no technical issues there. Please remember we have timestamps if you want to skip to the sports that you like, or if you're nuts for all things sport, just listen to the whole thing. We do have socials. Check them out. In the Carlton Draft, we've got our Carlton Draft shirts on, me and Mr. Monkey here. 20% off if you want to get some Carlton Draft gear. Use the code ESKY. On my left, Sean, how are you sleeping? You getting better and better?
Oh yeah, not too bad. It's up and down depending on the day, depending on how it's going. So yeah, it's been good. It's not too bad. Yeah, getting there.
Excellent. And how about you, Monks? You've had a busy weekend up to Sydney, looking at some rocks.
Yep. Well, rock's already
sorted.
Been sorted. So yeah, just looking at wedding bands. A lot of choices.
Yeah, there is.
A lot of options out there.
Sure is.
Yeah, pretty busy weekend traveling. So it'd be good to just sit back and relax for a couple of hours and listen to you guys dribble.
Just us. Fair enough.
I'll have some input.
As we like to do, just kick off the show, we like to shout a beer to reward some play throughout the week, or something that happened throughout the week that we rather enjoy. Sean, could you kick us off, please, with your shout a beer?
Definitely, and dressed appropriately. Sorry, I decided to pick on the Denver theme this week because let's fucking go. Done.
You got one of your men. You were talking about it last week. Was it going to be Rodgers? Was it going to be Russell Wilson? Was it going to be Deshaun Watson?
Yep. And
Danger Russ
ends up being the pick. Gave up a fair bit to him. We'll talk about that when we get in the NFL section. But it's good to be relevant again. That's probably the main thing. It's taken 7 years to get back to that point. But hey, primetime media all talking about Denver again. All the free agents in free agency, which will start tomorrow, wanting to come to Denver as well. All the chat. It's good to be relevant again. Let's go chase those Super Bowl rings, baby.
I like it. It's still a long way to the season, but I love that.
I was going to say counting chickens early.
Monks, who you got for shout a beer this week?
Yeah, this week I'm going to go to the NBA. I'm going to shout a beer to Greg Popovich. So during the week, he broke the all-time coaching record with career wins with his 1,336th win over the Jazz last week. I think since then, they lost a game this week. I can't remember, but yeah. So he overtook Don Nelson, who got his 1,335. I can't talk numbers. A lot of games across 5 different teams over the span of 31 odd years. Popovich did it in 25 years as the head coach of the Spurs and the Spurs alone.
6 years quicker than Don Nelson, and at the one side.
That's it, yeah. So, at this rate, probably be able to put a few more up on Don and, make that record his. Obviously, across that span of his career, he's won 5 championships over 4 decades, as it turns out. With our boy Paddy Mills on that 13-14 championship team.
Canberra represent.
That's it. Some other notable players, I suppose, who's played under Popovich. We've got Tim Duncan, Bruce Bowen, Tony Parker, and Steve Kerr, who, as we all know, is currently coaching the Golden State Warriors.
An excellent career out of Big Pop, and doesn't look like he's slowing down anytime soon.
No, it doesn't.
Although the Spurs, a little bit of a shadow over there for myself at the moment. Definitely
A little bit.
in a rebuilding phase, but nonetheless, kudos to you there, Pop. Very deserving of a beer.
Very much so. I'll just quickly end on that. His winning percentage at the moment is 65.8% as well.
Jeez, it's pretty hard in basketball.
That's it. And who have you got this week?
I've got, coming back to Australia, Michele Ravalawa scored a hat-trick for the Dragons. I was getting way ahead of myself. Texting the boys. Dragons winning the 8 and buying grand final tickets, yada, 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 yada. We do play a team called Penrith this week, so that'll be interesting to see what happens there. But the Fijian winger had a hat-trick. He's very, very dangerous from inside 5 or 10 metres, some excellent finishes, definitely got the arousal levels high at my house on Saturday afternoon.
Can imagine so.
Mop of the week, a bit of an unusual one here. We saw
a little bit funny.
Yeah, we saw today the Memphis Grizzlies and OKC Thunder line up on the court, and they were all in their white jerseys. Yep. Both teams wearing all white.
All white.
Generally,
in their home team.
Yeah, both. Yeah, generally in the NBA, the home team wears white. Memphis were away here, and for whatever reason, the kit managers hadn't spoken to each other, and they were out on the court. Everyone was out on the court, all wearing white, and the Grizzlies got sent back in to change into their away kit. How that happens in the NBA at the elite level, kind of beyond me. Kind of funny. That's the mop of the week this week is the kit managers for that game.
At least they brought their away kit with them.
Yeah,
sorry, I didn't bring it with us.
Yeah.
Imagine packing only one bag.
And it's funny that they literally realised at the tip. Like, everyone was out there and like, hang on a minute. We all wait.
That's it. Well, apparently this isn't the first time that's happened to
joking.
OKC. Apparently when they versed Atlanta last season, both teams were in their red kits.
Okay.
And I think they ended up playing that game as well.
Really?
Yeah, so...
That would have been difficult viewing.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll jump over to some cricket, boys.
It's stuck into it.
Yeah, a quick recap of the first test between Pakistan and Australia. Very underwhelming result in the end in the Rawalpindi Road. I think the ICC came out and said that the deck was fair, which is below good and above poor. Interesting take there, considering there was 14 wickets in the entire test.
Well, I think the point is it was playable. It just wasn't
very playable.
There wasn't, the paw would be like, hey, there's landmines, the whole thing's falling apart, and it's bouncing all over. It's dangerous. That's a paw, but this wasn't dangerous. It was just maybe
boring.
That's the word, boring.
But credit where credit's due. The Pakistanis only lost 4 wickets throughout the entire test match. We were talking about the possibility of Mitchell Schwepson coming into the side. We'll talk about the second test in a minute, but that has come to fruition. Very memorable test for some young Pakistani openers. Of course, Imam ul Haq, we already spoke about him getting a ton in the first innings, a big 157 out of him. He backed it up with an unbeaten ton in the second, as did Abdullah Shafiq, both scoring tons in the second innings there for Pakistan. 4 centuries for the Pakistanis. Yeah, you can say it's a road, yada, yada, but you've got to go out there and still score runs. So pretty impressive there from the Pakistani top order. As for the Aussies, no tons in our 459. Khawaja 97, Marnus 90, so both a little bit unlucky. Smudge 78, Warner 68. Probably Naman Ali, the pick of the Pakistani bowlers. A very, very underwhelming test match. But yeah, draw. We spoke about it this time last week, saying draw.
We said
on day 2. On day 2, we
were still paying $1.80 at that point.
No one loaded up. We did lose a little bit play to rain, and then a wet outfield or something. They just couldn't get back out there. Quite an underwhelming test match.
Yes, yeah.
Talk about the second one, which is the exact same point as we were last week. Day 2 in the books, and very similar, just the other way around with the Aussies out there scoring bulk runs. Started off with the news that Mitch Schwepson would be into the Australian side, and you called it.
Yep.
Josh Hazlewood misses out. Very interesting. Yeah. I thought he was one of the pick of our bowlers, but like you said, maybe too similar to Cummins in what they provide.
I agree.
They wanted, Stark to be able to bowl some left-arm thunderbolts by the looks. But yeah, maybe Hazelwood a little bit unlucky to miss out. Anyway, someone had to give, and very much looking forward to the long-awaited debut of Mitch Swepson. Quite serendipitous with the passing of Shane Warne last week, who's always been on the camp for Mitch Swepson, wanting to get him involved in Australian Test cricket. So he's got his wish there, Shane Warne.
Yeah, and it looked like the Pakistanis were getting a bit of turn as well on that the pitch they're playing on, which I don't think we mentioned. It was very, very white, I think was the main thing. It looked like they'd put a whole bunch of, good beach sand on it for the kind of colour it was good in that. But I wonder if they were trying to make quick changes to it after what had happened in the previous test. And
don't think it worked.
No, it didn't work. It looked like it was crumbling a little bit more around the foot marks earlier and then last, but still, like the whole middle part of the pitch is still rock solid, rock hard.
What about the square? They've got all those practice decks.
Yeah.
And
the way they cut the outfield as well in the big circles, it looks wavy.
It looks pretty ordinary. I'd hate to be fielding anywhere in the inner circle there. You'd be taking a bit of bark off the elbows, I reckon, diving for some of those balls. Nonetheless, I'll tell you someone who fucking enjoyed it out there. Usman Khawaja, he is in some unbelievable form. We'll start just quickly at the top. Dave Warner had a little bit of luck early on. He snicked up a few. They fell short of the slips. His luck ran out on 36. That was a really nice ball from Fahim. Just did enough to make him play. And
a little bit of sea movement.
Yeah.
Got enough to tickle the bat on the way through.
Away through to the keeper. Then Marnus ran out on 0. There's a bee's dick in this one. Quick single, but Test cricket.
Straight to the fielder.
Straight to mid-off. Wanted to get off the mark.
But I know he wanted to get off the mark, but he's only faced 9 balls. I don't think he needed to be so aggressive at that point.
Yeah.
It's not like he'd face 30 and still be on a not like, I really need to run here.
Yeah. I suppose hindsight's 2020. There was a bee's dick in it, but yeah, straight to mid-off, who had pretty much all three stumps to aim at there. Sajid Khan threw him down.
I reckon, Marnus probably thought that, he's going to have to pick this up really cleanly and get it off. I'm probably going to be safe. But he did a good job kind of going around the ball, picking up with one hand and just getting it off straight away. Like it was a good job, and hit the right peg, and that was it.
Great bit of fielding there from Sajid Khan to run out one of the most dangerous batsmen in the world at the moment. Then we saw a massive partnership between Usman Khawaja and Steve Smith. Usman, of course, dismissed for 97 in Rawalpindi, just missing out. And he went on this time. How about his form? So we had the back-to-back tons in Sydney. His recall back into the Test side after a few years in the wilderness. Missed out in Hobart.
Yeah.
And then 97 and 160. So 3 tons out of his last 6 innings since coming back into the side, and 3 runs away from being 4 tons out of 6. He's in an absolute purple patch. He plays a spin so well, and it would have meant a lot to him scoring a ton in the country of his birth. Well, and the locals getting around him a fair bit as well. They received a lot of applause from the Karachi home fans there.
I think he was saying as well, his family is originally from Karachi. So he's saying outside of like him and his brothers, like everyone else, my family was born here. So, it was great to get it in, say, his native home of his family. Yeah. To put on a big ton and 160, and he got a good seed, I think, to bowl him out there as well from Khan.
Yeah.
So
a bit of turn there, like we're talking about. There seems to be a little bit in this deck, maybe for the spinners compared to last time. A really nice ball, just dragged him forward and took the top of his off stump. It was 4.5 sessions in before they got him. Imagine batting for 4 sessions. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, you've never been there, Peps.
No. Mate, batting for a session is unbelievable. I reckon at a sort of lower level. I can't imagine batting for 4.5. Yeah. Smudge sort of made a start, missed out again. 3, I think. No, 2. His last 2 innings have been in the 70s, and the one before that I think was 67. Yep. He's made 6 tons, 6 50s rather, since his last ton, which was against India at the SCG. So about 14 months since Smudge turned up in Test cricket. definitely making the starts, and he didn't really look like getting out until he got dismissed from an absolute screamer of a catch diving to his left from Fahim Ashraf in the second last over.
Yeah, it was very late in the day at that point. So.
Yeah. Enter Nathan Lyon. He got dropped actually as a very tough chance for Imam or Huck at short leg there. Put it right between his hands, pretty much hit him in the gut and then dropped. They're always hard when they, you field them at short leg. You're expecting bat pad when it comes straight at you like that. They're pretty hard to catch. And Nathan Lyon, pretty good effort, making 38 runs as a night watchman. 20 odd for Travis Head and Cam Green. And then Alex Carey, we spoke about Kawaja just missing out last test, getting out for 97. Alex Carey just missed out after playing the sweep shot very well throughout. He got bowled by Babar Azam of all people. Babar's second test wicket, playing the sweep shot. He fell 7 agonising runs short of his maiden test century. You boys see him falling into the pool earlier during the week?
Just, I think, distracted by the phone, just going for a little wander, and then, 1 foot misses and he's in the ball.
Forgot where he was walking.
I think he owned it, though. He was like, that's hilarious. Like, that's
you have to.
I wonder how his phone is. I think that was the first thing. He tried to chuck it out as soon as he hit the water, and absolutely copping it from all the boys, all sharing their different angles of him falling in the pool. There's a bit of security camera footage, and maybe, I don't know, someone must have had their phone out as well, because I've seen about 7 different angles of it.
More replays than they do for Snicker.
Yeah, indeed. But yeah, really, really good to see Carey making a fair few runs. I think that was only his second 50 so far in the test side. And you feel pretty unlucky, I think, trying to play a big sweep shot, which you've been playing well all day, to fucking Babar Azam.
Yeah.
Anyways, declared 8 for 505. We're about an hour and a half off play this afternoon. I'm really looking forward to seeing Mitch Swepson's debut. Hopefully we can take some wickets and we don't have another, run fest, boring draw.
Mm-hmm. What did you... Cummins got a bit of heat for going out to bat in this with 3 overs to go yesterday afternoon, late evening. I think he was probably okay, because by the time they'd switched over, the bowls, everything, they would have lost nearly all those overs and maybe have got one, if any, if they'd spent all that time. So I think it was okay.
And they will try. Obviously, they wanted Carey to try and get a ton. Yeah, they probably could have declared 5 overs earlier and left Carey stranded on about 80 odd and said, come in and we'll have a bowler this evening. So sometimes, they try and do the right thing for the individual, and maybe it wasn't the best call for the team in that situation. But 8 for 505, does it really matter if they were 7 for 480? Does it change things that much? Do
you think they were? My other question was going, do you think they were aggressive enough on day 2?
Yeah, they scored a little bit slowly.
Because I look at it, they scored 250 on day 1 and they scored 250 on day 2. Like I would have thought, after Kawaja got his 100 and then, the guys are in there, that maybe push a little bit harder, trying to get, not a whole session, but at least get a decent chunk of the last session.
Yeah, well, Kawaja and Smudge, they struck at 33 and 43, so, really took their time, chewed up a few balls, gets us to a point where you're probably not going to lose this test. It's just a factor of if it's going to be a draw or can you win it. Carey pushed the envelope a little bit, striking nearly at about 60. I
think he had to catch up to get them into this position now. Yeah. But I think overall it was probably still a little bit slow. Possibly.
It's really quite weird how reminiscent this game is of the first test, just with the roles reversed.
Exactly.
Of we thought, Pakistan, batted for 2 days and they only made 480 or whatever it was. Maybe they could have scored a little bit quicker. It seems like it's the exact same kind of scenario here. And it does make you wonder, could we have gone a touch more aggressive and really tried to, bring the win, into the forefront and not the draw being the favourite. Monks, I can see that you've got the odds there. What's a draw paying? It's pretty short.
Yeah, it's shorter than the first test, so it's sitting at $1.47 at the moment, with Australia as winners of the test. Sorry, as of the match at $2.80.
Pakistan at 31.
31,
yeah. With 3 days still to go. Would you think for Australia to win it from here, they won't bat again?
Yeah, possibly. I don't. From what I've seen, we've only taken 4 wickets so far in this whole test. I can't see.
I can't see that happening. Like.
Yeah, I can't see us taking 20 in 3 days unless this pitch absolutely crumbles and turns to shit. I'd be thinking the draws. A pretty firm favourite for a reason again here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Happy?
Yes.
See.
So, yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
See how we go.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the comparison, we'll get to India versus Sri Lanka, like they're playing on, a road out in the outback, whereas the guys in Pakistan are playing on the Autobahn. Like, there's such a different kind of pitch comparison. So, anyway, it is what it is. Lots of runs. Enjoy the great run scoring in the Australian game, but it's not much there for the bowlers, I think, unfortunately.
And the complete opposite down in India. It's, we're getting really quite used to these 3.5-day test matches in India. India made 252, so Sri Lanka would have been pretty happy. Shreyas Iyer, 92 out of that. 3 wickets each for Lasith Mbuldania and Praveen Jaya Wickrama. Kohli didn't bother the scorers that much again, 20-odd, still searching for that test ton. Shreyas Iyer, I think he's been really, really good addition to the Indian batting lineup.
Yeah, definitely.
Jadu didn't go nuts this game after his 175, and he got 9 wickets in that last game as well. Yep. The first time that's ever been done. It would have been amazing if he'd managed to get the 10 for. And then Sri Lanka just absolutely bamboozled for 109. Jasprit Bumrah had the ball on a string, 5 for 24 for him. Angelo Matthews, the only Sri Lankan that really offered any resistance. And then India go out again off the back of Shreyas Iyer and Rishabh Pant this time. 9 for 303 declared. Sri Lanka need an absolute fuckload.
Yep.
Kohli's test average has dropped under 50 for the first time in 2017. It's the first time since 2017 after being in the high 50s for quite some time throughout that.
2019 still the last ton, so he's still chasing it, of course.
Couple years.
Yeah, but it's, I think his average is like 49.9 or something.
Yeah,
it's only just fallen.
Yeah.
It's just fallen under, but it's still a kind of a reflection of where he's at, struggling to kind of put those big totals together. Getting good starts. He's got plenty of starts.
Loves making a start.
Kind of what Steve Smith's good doing at the moment, getting in those 70s and not being able to convert those into big tons. They're not going to bat again in this one, of course, and they should win this handily, you'd think.
Yep.
Unless Sri Lanka somehow manages to bat out the rest of this test, which I doubt.
It's not going to be a draw. If Sri Lanka are able to make the 400 and something,
450.
That they need. It would be an absolute miracle. But you don't see this one ending in a draw. It is. It's one of those mental things with the average dropping below 50. Yeah, of course. What is a tenth of 100 in terms of your average. Who really gives a fuck?
I think it's
just that mental thing. It's like 99 versus 100. In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't make that much difference. But it's that mental thing, isn't it?
That's very true.
I think it's also a talking point. Like it gets all the we're three bums in a basement talking about it. But in India, it's a major news headline. Like it's like, hey, Kohli, has he fallen off? That's what it'll lead with. Finally, average under 50 has his time come or some shit like that. That's what'll sell papers. But
and that's sort of like what we've talked about before. We're wondering if being captain was putting too much pressure on him to get that to ton up. He's not captain anymore. Like this is only his first test back after being up.
Second.
Sorry.
Yeah. But it's first series. I get what you're going.
First series, So he's still got stuff to work on, I'm assuming, in the background.
We've spoken about it before. Do we ever see Virat Kohli getting dropped from this side?
Not in a hurry, no.
Not in a hurry. But if there's another few series like this where he's still struggling, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yep.
And we always talk about the depth that India has. There'd be 5 guys, that will all be putting their hand up to try and crack into that Indian starting 11.
Definitely. What's the last thing that's been happening in cricket, Peppy?
The Windies have been playing England. This match ended in a draw. A very different looking English side compared to the one that we had down here under for the Ashes. Alex Lees, Dan Lawrence, Ben Folkes all go in. Joe Root left the ball that took the top of his off peg. That's one of the most annoying things in cricket. He got off to a good start. And then big Johnny Bairstow absolutely put them on his back with 140, 21 boundaries in that knock. He's in some pretty good nick himself. Yeah, Johnny Bairstow, he must be listening to the Esky. We named a Pudgy 11 and we had him keeper in the Pudgy 11. But it doesn't matter if you score runs. It doesn't matter if you carry an extra few kilos. And Kruma Bonner, actually, the young West Indian, got the man of the match for this one. He had 123 and then 30 odd. And tons to Zach Crawley and Joe Root. This game ended in another draw.
Yeah, well, I guess by that point, the Windies did enough to bat out the game.
That second test will be starting shortly.
Yes.
Yep. Also have South Africa, Bangladesh upcoming, and the Women's World Cup is currently underway. We might have a little bit of a look at that when it comes finals time. I think the Aussie girls are looking quite good there.
Yes, definitely.
Oh, and the Marsh Cup.
Oh, yeah.
Marsh Cup final.
Who had a winner?
WA.
Did they play in New South Wales after New South Wales played 2 games?
Yeah, I think New South Wales literally made the final with two games and 3 washouts. The Marsh Cup been all over the place. COVID and border lockdowns and rain.
Well, yeah, it's floods like all up and down the east coast.
Yeah,
of
it
Australia,
made it very difficult. But WA avenging their loss against New South Wales last year, and a ripping catch from Hilton Cartwright to dismiss Moses Henriques to essentially claim victory for the Western Australians. It was a bit of a weird one, a bit of a low-scoring game, a lot of input from the lower order of WA. That I think the top order didn't do too much at all. If you don't mind scrolling down there, Monks, who was it? It was Jai Richardson, Jason Berendorf, Matt Kelly, all down the bottom there, chipping in after a pretty lacklustre start. At the top of the order there, and it was Moises Henriques doing his best, and then when Hilton Cartwright took a screamer to dismiss him, it was all up to Dan Sams and Ben Dorsis. They couldn't quite get the job done. New South Wales falling about 20 runs short there. WA taking out the Marsh Cup for the year.
Cricket done?
That will do us. Rugby is back. Dragons win, Raiders win.
Season's done.
Broncos win. There's a few happy boys sitting at this table. The way that we will do this, I know it is only Monday. We don't have teams out just yet, but we'll look at the upcoming fixtures in round 2 and allude back to the results from round 1. Storm, Rabbitohs, massive game Thursday night. Amy Park, the Storm did get a win over the Tigers, but it came at a massive cost.
Well, they're behind a lot in that game as well. They had to battle back to get into that. But
they were down 14-4, I believe, at one stage. The West Tigers, who would have predicted that? They did show a lot of grit.
I think they played 15 as well for most of this match.
Yeah,
too.
well, Welch and Jennings, but both could be gone.
14. So.
Yeah, both could be gone. For the whole year.
Welsh, I think they confirmed Achilles.
Ruptured Achilles, George Jennings.
I believe he's gone to the Dolphins.
Yeah, can you chase that up?
Just to confirm, so yeah.
The Kafusi boys definitely are.
A lot of the Storm forward pack is going to the Dolphins. George Jennings with the knee, I think they're going to say that was ACL.
Yeah, both these guys, non-contact injuries, way off being contact, you never like to see it. Thinking of them both. And Brandon Smith broke his hand in the first 5 minutes. So the fact that they were able to rally and win this game, pretty unreal. Rookie Tyron Wishart got some big minutes in the place of Brandon Smith. Harry Grant, of course, missing the game through suspension. He's the son of Illawarra Steelers legend Rod Wishart. So good to see, a bit of father-son kind of stuff going on in the NRL. Jerome Hughes, for mine, the best in that game against the Tigers. And the Rabbits, very, very underwhelming in their loss to the Broncos. Dolphins miss out. Christian Welch, he has resigned.
Resigned through to 2025.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I do remember all those rumours about it. But
still, it's a huge loss for the Storm. And on the Rabbits, underwhelming. And I think Adam Reynolds was missed by both clubs in that game. So I think Wayne is an even bigger out for the Rabbits. Wayne Bennett, that is.
Jason Demetriou, big shoes to fill, doesn't he?
He's filling the shoes of the current GOAT. So it's going to that's going to be a challenge.
Well, I think after that game, Matt Johns was saying the last team that was successful after Wayne Bennett left the team was like the 1988 Raiders.
Yeah, right. That's
every other team. A long time ago.
Yeah.
Every other team after Bennett's left has sort of taken a bit of a dip.
Yeah, right.
Can you find out who took over? It was Tim Sheens, I think, that took over.
I think straight. Yeah, I believe so. Bennett.
So I think that's a decent replacement there.
And Bennett was only there for a year. I think his first year coaching an NRL side.
Yeah.
Lachlan Elias, a little bit quiet. He's the rookie that will be wearing the 7 for the Rabbitohs.
It's going to be a big challenge because I think Walker really needs that kind of support, I think.
Yeah.
Because if you give him, too much, not free reign, but it's too much on his shoulders, I think. He's more of a ball player than a like a set piece like manager and trying to set it up.
doesn't have the kicking game of Reynolds. Who really does?
No one does.
Who really does have the kicking game of Van Reynolds outside of maybe Nathan Cleary.
Yeah, but intercepts when Cody Walker is like a fat kid in cake. So it's a bit of a thing in his game, unfortunately. But
Yep. Who have we got here, lads? Monks, have you got the odds?
Storm for me.
Yeah, I've got the Storm here. Cattle coming back, Harry Grant, Cam Munster, obviously. We spoke at length about the losses of Welch and Jennings, and Smith will be out for at least a month. Massive blows, but getting 2 of the better players in the NRL back can't do them any harm. In Melbourne, I've gone the Storm.
Yeah, I'll go the Storm here as well. They are favourites $1.39. The Rabbits are out at $3 at the moment.
A touch shorter than I probably would have liked. Given
This early on in the season.
Yeah, this early on in the year, they were underwhelming in their win against the Tigers, despite showing a bit of grit. I'd probably want a little bit more value than that. But yeah, three Storms here, eh?
Yep. And on that, the line is 7.5.
Rabbits no Latrell, I think, not heading in the right direction currently.
How different are they without Latrell? We spoke about
all their structures are built around him and Cody. Like it's just they're completely out of sync without him. It'd be interesting to see what they looks like when he's back.
Match of the round, boys. Dragons Panthers 6 o'clock Friday night. True believe. Dragons did get the win against Warriors on the Sunshine Coast, so I shouted a beer to Michaela.
I got to say
for that hat trick.
Yeah, I got to say Dragons Warriors was probably the worst game I didn't watch this week. So
the worst game you didn't watch.
I'm just talking shit.
Bulldogs Cowboys in the rain.
That was pretty dreadful.
No Tarek Sims in the side for the Dragons. He's a healthy scratch. There's a lot of trade talks.
Yeah, it sounds like he's on the move.
Yeah, he was one of the Blues' best forwards in Origin last year. Melbourne seems to be interested in acquiring him. Aaron Woods did his hammy pretty early on. Won't expect to see him. No Cleary, no worries for the Panthers. I think a few of us tipped Manly. That aged very, very well. Hammered Manly 28-6. Sean O'Sullivan playing 7, and he looked very, very good.
So I think that was the biggest margin of the week last round, which was, I think, worth noting because we were used to the 40-4 drubbings from last year. So
that was
every game this round, except that one, was pretty close. So within a couple of tries. So nothing really kind of blew out to the point where you turn it off at half time because they're running up the scores.
So. Knights Roosters 14 points, but by far the biggest margin there. And the games were relatively close this week. A couple of upsets and not that high scoring either. No. There was we saw a fair few points in Parramatta and Gold Coast. But outside of that, not very high scoring games. Tell you who was really good, Liam Martin into the starting side with Kurt Capewell. Going up to the Bronx. He played 80 minutes. He was excellent. And Isaiah Yeo has to be the best ball playing 13 in the game. Sean O'Sullivan maybe was made to look very good, from Isaiah Yeo's ability to play as like a third half. Young Isaac Targo in the centres, filling the big shoes of Matt Burton. He was very good. Panthers firmed as premiership favours. I think there's a good reason for that. They're about $4, and they'll start this game as strong favourites. A couple of Judas here's. Here, yeah. It's pretty hard to tip against Penrith Panthers as much as I would love to see
What's the go with Cleary? I've heard 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, three is what I'm hearing. Again, it's Monday here. Strange Monday, public holiday, Canberra Day down here. Unusual for us to be podcasting on a Monday. It's just the way it worked out this week.
Better than work, so it's all good.
Yeah, bloody oath. No teams available just yet. Yeah, all the chat that I'm hearing is Cleary definitely won't be playing in this one and may be back for round 3 or round 4.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too.
Yeah, latest reports is 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they can be safe against the Dragons. They'll be right. So Penrith for me.
Couple of Judases.
Yeah, no, that's it. They are favourites, $1.28 at the moment. Dragons are out at $3.75. We've got a line of 10.5.
Yeah, maybe as a one-eyed Dragons fan, I'd be thinking about taking that. Maybe.
Hopefully keep it close.
All right, Friday night, the 8 o'clock game. 2 teams, highly touted teams, that are coming off losses. I am talking about the Roosters and Manly. The Roosters absolutely outclassed by the Knights. Sam Verrills was unavailable. He broke his thumb at training, so Connor Watson got most of the run at 9. Kieran Walker, very quiet. Haven't really played that much together. Victor Radley got concussed, just doing some Radley stuff, flying out of the line, having a head clash. I was actually playing a bit of golf in the Newcastle Roosters game. You reckon the surface was pretty ordinary? Looked like a Karachi surface, did it?
Oh, well, that would be rock hard. So I think it was more of the turf. They were kicking up turf or pulling it apart.
A bit loose.
All the rain that I've had up there. Not unsurprising. I think your point on the Hearts probably not playing well together. They just didn't gel though. From what I've seen, they were so off. And with Teddy being in the news last week for some racist comments, and that maybe playing on his mind a little bit because he had a really bad game, bit of drop ball. Do I think it's going to help them against Manly? They did have a bad week against Penrith, but I think Penrith just defended so well. They really couldn't get into what Manly like to do, which is spread the edges and go fast. But I think against the Roosters, they're probably going to get a lot more opportunities. So I might go Manly in this one.
Oh, I like it. Hard one to tip because both these teams we thought would be very good this year, and both looked really shit last weekend. I'm a bit split. I'm going to go the Roosters, but I have no confidence. Early in the year, rugby league's quite hard to pick, isn't it?
Real hard. I think I got maybe like 2 tips correct last week. I maybe got a few of those later games up as well. But
I think I had 5, wasn't too bad.
I was like 4 in a row losses at the start of the round.
Sean's chasing it
just
up.
A quick 4 of 8 for me. Half for me. Not a great round for tipping or betting, I'd say.
No. And this game's going to be very hard. I did back Manly in last week. I'll do it again. There are underdogs at $2, but only just with the Roosters out at $1.80. Line of 1.5.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's pretty hard to split these 2 teams given how poorly they both played and how good their rosters are. Saturday, 3 o'clock, we've got the Gold Coast Titans taking on the New Zealand Warriors up there at Seabus Super Stadium. Both teams coming off losses. Dylan Watini-Zelezniak had a badly broken thumb. The NRL physio shared the x-ray of his thumb. Check that out. It's not nice whatsoever. He did play out the game, but he'll miss close to 6 weeks. Sean Johnson, first game back at the Warriors. Wasn't electrifying. Didn't look too bad, I didn't think. And the Titans went very close against the Eels in that high-scoring game yesterday. AJ Brimson, a late scratching with groin soreness, expecting him to be back for the Titans. What do we got here, lads? I'm going to go the Gold Coast Titans up there at home. I think they should get the job done.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Titans as well. They still got the same problem as last year, though. They leak a lot of points.
Consistency.
Their defense, I think, is going to be a problem for them going forward. But other than that, they've got a lot of talent there. So I think that they should. Warriors, unfortunately, don't. They've got a really... I guess they go under the radar because they are a New Zealand team that none of their players can really get big star treatment outside of Sean Johnson. But... they just got a very quiet roster by all accounts. So,
and what we kind of failed to talk about last week is just how much it how much it plays on them having to play away from home
this is
again this year. Third season.
Yeah.
And then we're talking about another New Zealand team during the week. So I think what was the chat that all the club bosses had agreed that if they were going to add another team, would be a second team in New Zealand.
Yep.
So, but
deserve it. Let's just get some games back there.
You got to play games in New Zealand first to add another New Zealand team. Anyway,
nice. No, you do. Probably can't go past the Titans on this one. They are favourites $1.50. The Warriors are out at $2.60 at the moment. And we have a line of 5.5.
Moving forward, the Sharks take on the Eels, PointsBet Stadium. Cronulla nearly stealing a win in Canberra on Friday night. One of the better games of the round. Nico Hines, thoughts? I thought he was a little bit quiet in the first half, and then he showed a lot of promise in that second. It's hard, like we're talking about Lachlan Elias before, to judge a 7 after just one game. With Luke Keary coming back, he is so proven as a 7, but even he had a bit of a quiet game. I thought Nico looked quite good, especially in that second half. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think the Hines and Moyland combination, they just go work on it, find out what works for them. They're both more running ball players than they are elite passing or kicking game. So I think they're just got to find what works for them and who takes what going forward. But the Sharks, like we said, they've got talent. They definitely push the Raiders there, and we'll talk about them in a second. Eels, though, they scored a bunch of tries against the Titans. I think there's a bit of a run-in for a few of the Eels stars at a nightclub over the weekend, of course, with a former player that we'd rather not talk about.
I don't think it was too much.
I don't think it's
a bit of a verbal altercation is all I'm
But, Eels in media, in newspapers again, well, water is wet. I think these teams are very similar currently where they're at. This should be a good close game of footy.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe Sharks.
Maybe Sharks. Yeah, it's a hard one to pick. I'm gonna go the Eels. I think they are favourites, but I think this game should be a little bit closer than the odds suggest, although it's not that far apart anyways. I don't know. Early on in the year, who the fuck knows? Eels have shown that they can score points. Was that a function of them being good, or was that a function of them playing against the Gold Coast Titans? Who knows? Hard one to pick this one.
Very much so. I'll go off the Eels, and that's purely just kind of based off last year's form more than anything else, I reckon. Although, it would be good to see Nico Hines.
He's got to build himself into a halfback. He played more. 1 and 6 last year.
Yeah, essentially all 1 and 6.
It's a new thing for him. So they're trying it out. They didn't have their coach last week as well because he had COVID. So
he'll be back.
Yeah, I don't think it matters too much, but at least he'll be in the sheds for him at half.
This will be the first game at the revamped Cronulla Sharks Stadium. PointsBet Stadium.
They don't give us a sponsorship, so it's all right.
Well, we haven't really asked them. I guess we've been barking up the wrong bush with the sports bet stuff.
Possibly. So Eels are favourites at $1.65. Sharks are $2.25. And we do have a line of 2.5.
Close game of footy.
Tough one. Yeah. Cowboys, Raiders up there in Townsville. No faders last week. It really did look like some of the old Canberra Raiders of old, up 18-6 at the half. They did give up 7 double-digit leads last year.
Another great Ricky Stewart halftime speech. He gives a few of those. They obviously goes in one ear out the other, and the boys come out real flat.
What do you reckon he was saying? If one of your missus talks shit about me again, I'm going to fucking drop the whole team.
We'll get to that. But, but interesting to see if they could go back, or someone would look it up and do a comparison of all their periods, because it was literally a 20-minute period in the second half where they, lapsed and they scored all these points and got back in, and then they played well in the second half when Papali is on the field. So I have a feeling that a lot of their lull periods happen when Papali is not on the field. So, and you think about it, you take Papali out of it, where's their veteran leadership currently? It's pretty much all on Whiten. And whether, again, he's kind of still growing into that role as he is the superstar in the squad, but as the face, franchise dude, I don't think he's kind of in that mold yet. He was so good in this game. He had to lift, and he really did.
In his 200th,
to get to there.
He was the best on ground by a long margin. What about that try at the end from Hudson Young? He had a lot of work to do there, didn't he?
And I think I talked about Jack needs to get his passing game involved a bit more, so I did get that a bit more. But also then using his running game as like a weapon, a decoy. They've definitely worked on their structures because it worked. It suckered in like 2 or 3 defenders, and they all went to him, and that gave Hudson a nice little corridor there, and he just powered his way over with carrying 3 blokes to the end. I'm glad they didn't go back and try to look at it for a double movement because his elbow was down a yard short. He bounced though.
Momentum.
It's fair.
I'll say momentum.
But,
momentum would have been all right. Josh Hodgson, bit of a scare. Doesn't seem like it's going to be too bad. There's a little bit of
meniscus.
Well, that meniscus is what they were saying. It looks like there's a little bit of cartilage that's been chipped. But apparently it's quite a minor surgery. Could have him back in a month.
Yeah, 4 to 6.
Tom Starling looked good, I thought.
I think this could be a slight blessing in disguise for the Raiders because, Hodgson's, of course, is leaving. We know he's going to the Eels.
Yep.
That forces Tom Sterling into the starting role, and then you're going to have a spot for a utility. Maybe that's Savage. Maybe that's how they get him on. Because I don't think they've got a backup hooker because Havili's now playing for Souths. So I don't think they've got any other options.
Well, Starling's the backup, so backup.
Exactly, which will be a young fella. And when you've got someone like Savage who's raring to go, maybe that makes sense. Of course, he's not going to be your 9 though, but
he can be a utility.
He can be a utility. You can get him out there somewhere and rotate the guys around. But it'll be interesting to see what they do going forward. Cowboys, like you said, played that dreadful rainy game the other day. So Cowboys going to cowboy at this point.
They weren't too bad. It was hard with the amount of rain that was coming down. I thought the hammer going to fullback wasn't a bad move for them.
They did play Townsend at 7 and they had Deedon at 6, so they went with that. And they do look small for. That's a byproduct having 2 small halves in your side. Not sure if that'll be the long-term get for them, but I think the Raiders should do the Cowboys. I think they're a better squad overall. They should beat them.
Agreed. Monks?
Yep. I reckon so as well. Just back on Papali. So Sharks were able to get back into the game while he was still on the field. So it probably wasn't so much that he was off the field and they all laughed.
I think this is the Raiders' problem. They have no idea what it is. This is something. Second half, that 40 to 60 minute, for whatever reason, they just lose their way.
Is it a conditioning thing?
Well, that's always been a chat. But they played the last 20, so it's got to be more mental.
They just come out of the
super flat, and the other guys are G'd up. So is it a Ricky halftime speech? What's he doing? Is he getting them too G'd up, and then they come out and then all endorphins dump, and then who knows?
You've got this game in the bag now. We're leading halftime.
Let's get on the VBs. Let's get ready, boys.
Poor fella, did you see his presser?
Oh, I saw the Sharks trying to do their presser. They had the bin
with the bin
in the background.
The Canberra Raiders song right in the background. Get that up, poor fella. Assistant coach, having to go face the media with Fitzgibbon being unavailable and copping the Raiders team song in the back of his presser. And then Ricky's, he really struggles with the word text.
You're right.
And I got 47 Texas this weekend. like the state, Texas.
Texas,
yeah. Texas Rangers. Big Ricky. Maybe that's his problem in the halftime speech. I got 47 Texases this week.
He's saying something that is just not coming across for the Raiders, and it's like just coming out confused. Don't know what to do.
Look, we're talking about them.
True, they were listening to Ricky like we have no idea what we're talking about, bro.
We're talking about the Raiders as if they did fade. They got the win. I think they go out.
They did enough to hold on.
I think
they were down a point with 5 to go, so they needed that try late. Do you want to talk about Ryan Sutton?
Yeah, just briefly. Didn't get picked. Second time that this has happened with...
Looks like a sign for the doggies. So
a wife or girlfriend taking to social media and having a crack at the captain, at the coach, I should say. Not the best look, I don't think, if you've got to rock up to work, with your tail between your legs after, your wife or girlfriend's had a crack at your boss, essentially. Yeah.
It's a weird move.
Yeah, I don't really get it.
No. But
it's the only place in sports I kind of see it. Like you see occasional, maybe a wag might say something in more support of their man, but not like this where it's on the socials and you just get stuck in to the head coach.
no, it's not a missus, but OBJ might have something to say about that.
It worked for him, didn't
Well,
it?
I've heard chat that he's contacted Amari Cooper's dad to teach him how to use like iMovie to cut up the highlights.
Everybody.
Anyway, we'll get to that in the NFL chat. What were the odds, Marks? We all picked Raiders.
Yep. Yeah, I picked the Raiders. Their favourites $1.60. Cowboys are out at $2.35. We've got a line of 3.5.
Raiders.
Yeah.
Sunday games, some absolute rip snorters. Newcastle Knights, West Tigers, McDonald Jones Stadium. The Knights, after we were all pretty much bad-mouthing them last week, got a big upset win over the Chooks. Dan Gagai was very, very good in his return to the Knights. The pack was pretty
Another
good.
one I think Souths are going to miss big time this year. Besides Reynolds, they miss Gagai too.
And Jake Clifford and Adam Clune, they must have been listening to the Esky. They thought, fuck these idiots in their basement. They were actually pretty good. So maybe those question marks around the Knights' spine are not, maybe not warranted. Again, it's only one game.
Maybe they got a bit of physio and straighten it out.
Yeah, straighten out the scoliosis.
Tigers did push the Storm, of course, as we mentioned before. They were up at 14-4 at the half, but then fell apart. I did like Hastings. I think he played decently well in this. And his job is really, what can I get out of Luke Brooks? Like, he's there to do the recovery mission, which hasn't helped anyone else that played six there. So.
And Brooks was good in this game. His kicking game was really good. They did their best, and then the Storm just a bit too classy, even with three men off hurt.
Yeah, well, I think they had 4 failed HIAs in total. Was it this and this one?
That was the Dogs, I think.
The Dogs,
yeah.
We'll
Dogs
get to that.
had
Sorry,
4,
you are right, yeah. Can you get health on Tyrone Peachy? I think he hurt his hand late in this as well.
He was quite good.
He was good for them.
13 for the Tigers in his debut there. Boys, I think the Knights get the job done here.
So
Yeah.
I'm just going to say the Ponga and probably Gagai factor, they're just a little bit more talented. The Tigers got probably the worst list in football, unfortunately.
Yeah, on paper.
Yeah.
Mind you, that worst list in football
Push the Storm.
Yeah, led the Storm for quite some time.
Yeah. Well, Craig gave him a good kick in the bum, I'd say, at halftime, and they came out and played well. So.
Oh, bellyache. You'd hate to be on the back end of one of those, wouldn't you?
Yeah, especially week 1.
Indeed.
Got an answer on Peachy for us?
No news just yet, I don't think.
I think he might be okay. He might be okay.
Odds and
odds and
We'll
tip,
see.
please.
I'll go Knights as well. I'll go Knights.
Yeah, I'll go Knights as well. Just looking at this, they are favourites. They are favourites at $1.39. Tigers are out at $3. And we got a line of 7.5.
Beauty. Into the final game of the round. Bulldogs Broncos. This is 14th versus 16th from last year. Both of them have a win already. So good stuff. Like we did mention, the Dogs did have 4 players out with HIAs in that rain-affected game up in Townsville. They get the win there.
They got the medical sub to come on, but still, that's one replacement for 4 blokes.
Yeah, difficult times. And the Broncos also had a gritty win over the Bunnies Friday night. Albert Kelly, Billy Walters linked up well. Obviously, Reynolds should be coming back to make his debut after missing the round 1 with COVID. Who stays? Who goes? Does one of them drop to the bench, perhaps? Because Reynolds is coming in. Is it Kelly that stays in, or is it Billy Walters that stays in?
Coach's son. Coach's son always gets picked.
Yeah.
He did play pretty well.
I thought they were both pretty good. I tend to agree.
Yeah.
So back on the Doggies, I thought Adokar and Matt Burton were probably some of their best. So some good buys there for them. So it's good to see them getting there.
What about Payne Haas? We're talking about it before.
Elite. He played all 80, I think, as well. So
he's a freak.
He's a freak.
He's
talent.
a freak, man. 186 run meters, 45 tackles, 4 offloads.
Yeah.
No prop
offloads
does what
from-
he does.
No, he's the fittest. If you can't agree that he's the best prop in rugby league, I suppose there's an argument maybe around a Fisher Harris or maybe a Fanua Blake. I don't know.
For guys maybe slightly more damaging, but he's most talented, the fittest bloke. He's a ridiculous talent.
Yeah, for mine, he's hands down the best prop in the NRL at the moment.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. No, Broncos looked good. I
Yeah.
liked how they were running the ball. Albert Kelly, he played really well as well.
Yeah, that intercept.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the addition of Adam Reynolds will probably be enough for them to get over the Doggies. I'll back the Broncos this one.
Yeah, I'll go the same, although I'm not super confident. There's a lot of games this week that are quite hard to split. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but after finishing 14th last year and getting the spoon the year before, I think the Broncos start this year 2-0.
Yep. Yeah, I'll go with that as well.
3 Broncos, kiss of death.
That's it. Especially when you hear these odds. Actually, in my opinion, I thought these odds were probably a little bit too close together. But Broncos are $1.80 and the Bulldogs are out at $2 at the moment.
Okay.
Line of 1.5.
See what happens.
Yeah.
Very close football game.
That wraps up the week in NRL. Normally we wouldn't have an off-season conversation probably this high in the program, but a lot happened in the NFL.
Getting close to free agency, I think, is the issue, which officially opens tomorrow. So we're talking NFL. The tampering period for the first 48 hours starts tomorrow, and then official signings can happen on the 17th. Actually, no. So what are we? 14th today. So it's their 15th, so it'll be Wednesday for us. Wednesday's official league start.
We got there.
Yeah, which is
quick maths.
That's when all the trades will be official, etc. I guess we start with quarterback news.
Yeah, well, a big one we alluded to at the top of the show. Tom Brady, he's back, baby.
He's back.
23rd season after a little fake retirement, a little bit of John Farnham, if you will.
I think he probably did that just to make Giselle feel better, and then he's like, I was never a time.
I love my boy. He's got unfinished business, something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
There was a lot of rumours that the 49ers were after him. He did grow up in the Bay Area, rooted for them growing up. I thought maybe that might have happened. And then today, no, according to Tom, he's going back to Tampa, year 23, third season with the Bucks. Monks, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, great. We're not going to slide into obscurity anymore.
Relevancy, it is important.
Yeah, that dream keeps on living at least for one more year. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, no, great news. I think we're talking pre-potty that even though Brady's back, Marpet said that he will not be unretiring as well. He's definitely
called it.
He's definitely called it. But yeah, awesome. It'll be great to see how this season goes. I mean, still almost like the NRL, it's early days. We don't know what's going to happen between now and the start of the season, or even how the season's going to go. I think probably the funniest story to come out of this was probably only hours before this. There was an auction house that auctioned off the last touchdown pass ball from Tom Brady from when he threw that ball to Evans in the playoffs against the Rams. That sold for $500,000.
And it's not the last one.
It's not the last one anymore.
It's not the last one. So, potentially could be the last playoff ball. We don't know what's going to happen this season. But yeah, definitely not the last touchdown ball. So that was pretty funny coming out of that. But yeah, exciting to see what happens this season.
Indeed. He turns 45 this year, doesn't he?
Crazy.
How does that work? You know how old Ali Marpet is? 28. Jesus, 17 years difference.
It's crazy.
I think it's his style of football, and we might get into that in a minute because, like him and Rodgers, the way they play the quarterback position, I think has lent them well to be able to extend their careers for long periods of time.
Staying in the pocket mostly,
staying upright, trying to limit very quick decision making.
That said, we have looked at it on the Esky before. Tom Brady is the most sacked man in the NFL history.
Yeah, he's been in the league for 23 years. Like, he's going to add some numbers, but yeah. But also, knowing how to get sacked, like not getting absolutely blindsided or trying to get on the move and getting whacked. It's more or less like I'll get knocked down or I'll take taking the sack as well.
Sure.
So I think that's their game style really helps them. So speaking of which, Aaron Rodgers, your best mate, has decided to stay with the Green Bay Packers on a reported 4-year, $200 million deal. Nothing official on that spot, but the $50 million tag a year has been in chat and thrown around for a lot, which ends up being 25%, a quarter essentially, of the salary cap. So it's a lot.
I don't know how they're going to pay the rest of this team. Wisconsin famous for being enjoying of a cold amber. brew. So maybe, I don't know, maybe the rest of the team's just getting paid in beers, something like that. And here's a 6-pack of Bud Lights for your efforts because we've got to pay 12. And we'll talk about franchise tags in a minute, but Rogers and Adams both to stay at the Packers. Massive news after all the hoopla and speculation, and he was pretty much as good as gone according to all the press. He'll be going back again for another year in Green Bay. Monks, you got a breakdown of that contract at all?
Of his new one?
Yeah, just having a look at. So the cap number for this year, 47 million. Next year, it's a option to void contract sitting at 7.6 million.
I don't know how that works.
No.
I reckon that might be his.
Might be the old one.
Because he doesn't have the rest of the years on it. There should be 4 more years added to it. So
maybe this is the old contract.
Which will get
it
him
hasn't
through
been
to
updated
40,
yet.
41, 42, something like that.
which means it looks like Jordan Love potentially is on the move.
Yeah,
Probably the worst first-round draft pick for the Green Bay Packers in a long time. Chat that Seahawks, etc., are looking at him potentially as an option.
They need a quarterback.
So
The Colts will need a quarterback.
Colts will need a quarterback. We'll get to that in a minute. So let's go with the timeline. So Aaron Rodgers made his decision that he is staying. By all reports, he was arm in arm where he stays at Green Bay and goes to Denver. We talked about that, of course. He stays put. And then I think 2 hours later, Denver makes the trade official for Russell Wilson that we mentioned in the intro. By all accounts, there was a trade for the Commanders. I think we talked about this in place. Agreed to essentially, and Russ knocked it back. By all accounts, he said that Denver was the one spot he wanted to go to. So that makes you nice and fluffy.
They threw the absolute house at him, didn't they?
Yeah, well, they needed to. He is, compared to, say, Rodgers was, he's a 33-year-old quarterback. So you got 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and a 5th, and that was plus Locke, Shelby Harris and Noah Fant to go along to get Wilson and a 4th rounder. So they kind of just switched to 4th and a 5th. So it is a lot there, but I think I said to you boys, with where our salary cap was and the talent we got on the roster, no, those picks don't get us over 500 in the playoffs in the division we're in. Maybe. You need the quarterback. So
this is all about chips on the table now, trying to do something now. I feel like it's a lot. 2 first rounders, 2 second rounders.
Yeah,
plus the players, I guess.
Yeah, so
You're very reliant on Wilson being that last piece of the puzzle.
Yeah. Well, we flicked a second for Von Miller, and by all accounts, Von Miller might be coming back. So we really didn't lose too much in that regard. The first this year and the first next year, that's probably what you worry about. Noah Fant probably was a bit unders for where his draft position is, especially in the run game. And Albert O there kind of made him slightly expendable. I hate that they give up on Locke, just another QB that Denver couldn't develop. But he'll have a chance with the Seahawks to see what they can do there, or potentially get moved again. The big loss, I think, is Harris. Harris is one of the better nose tackles and defensive tackles inside in the league, and he's well known for knocking down passes. So he's a veteran guy. He's probably the biggest loss in that lot. But you get Russell Wilson. We just met before when we were talking about styles. You're probably not going to get Russell Wilson for the next. Everyone's talking about it. He's going to play the next 8 to 10 years. I don't think his style kind of leads to that longevity. I think if you get 4 years out of Russell, get him to 37, I think you've done a really good job. And hopefully we win a Super Bowl on that take. And anything past that's probably Gucci. Like that's just really nice to have on top of it. So, but hey, that puts you got to compete with Holmes and Herbert in that division, and Carr now has to worry about being the 4th best quarterback in the division. And they're loading up. So with the trades, Khalil Mack going into the Chargers for a 2nd and 5th, getting the pass rush. They know that division now, loading up there.
Joey Bosa on one side and Khalil Mack on the other. That is quite scary. Thoughts? Was that unders? So. He was on a lot of money, so I suppose the Chargers have to pay out the rest of his salary, but second and a fifth after they threw the house to get him there in the first place. It seems like a little bit.
He's a bit older than he was, of course, when that first deal went through. So
Yeah, a couple of years older, I guess.
yeah, and again, the Bears kind of rebuilding at this point. So yeah.
See what happens.
See what happens. I feel for the Commanders missing out on Wilson, and then you get Wentz for 2/3 and have to pay him like almost 30 mil this year. I don't think that's a great kind of move there, but hey, that's happened. I don't think the Colts. I think the only team to have 5 quarterbacks in 5 years, so they're going to look for someone. They no chat about them involved in any other trades going on. Maybe Jimmy G's a good spot for him there at the Colts. But anyway, that happened, and then as I alluded to before, Amari Cooper did get traded to the Browns for a 5th and 6th, just essentially dumping his salary. And then the Cowboys turn around and pay Gallup 5 years for 62 mil to get into that
got paid.
10 to 11. I think that Zeke deal really is killing the Cowboys and their cap, paying him almost 20 mil a year.
Too much, you think, for a running back.
Yes, and of course all the fallout with Cooper getting stuck in a DAC during the season, I think, is the reason why that all fell apart.
The black Kirk Cousins, apparently.
Yeah, so not sure how he's gone to the Browns. Baker's got to prove it. Yeah, give him some weapons, see what he can do. Sounds like Landry's going to be on the move as well in free agency. So don't know what the Browns are going to be like this year. Other news before we get into those movements there. Sean Watson got no criminal charges. NFL lawyers are good. We said that. So he's still got his civil suits. He's got 22 of those. Whether they essentially could all probably be settled for money. He's looking like he's going to get traded. Saints and Panthers are the likely ones in that conversation. So, and there was chat at Eagles as well, switching Hurts and sending him to Texans, but wait and see. But the three big names of the quarterbacks, 2 have already got their spots. He's the last one to kind of really move, and we'll have to see what happens where he ends up. And then that kind of leaves us with Calvin Ridley putting bets, putting a $1,500 bet and losing 11 mil. Like that's a
massive decision.
Big L there.
What do we think about? Obviously, it's blatantly obvious why you can't bet on NFL games, throwing matches, match fixing, the rest of it.
Well, I think that's the point. And
does the punishment match the crime?
Probably not for what he did. And I know fans have gone away and looked at some of his highlights and tried to see, hey, he probably should have housed this route. Instead, he's gotten tackled. Yeah. I think that he's not that far in the bookies. I think, he's he wasn't playing games. He was trying to get involved in the sport and thought he'd do a sneaky bet and should have used his cousin's burner like everyone else does in the NFL. Got caught. The problem is he's the first one. And, I think really sportsbooks in the NFL or sportsbooks in America is only really a year old, and especially with the NFL with their all their sponsorship and deals and they've got in place is about a year old. So he's the first one, and they've set the standard. They're in the book at him. Essentially, they've gone. We don't want any of this at all because we don't want to have anyone talking about the integrity of the NFL. So they've gone. Here's a year's suspension. You should have bet your misses up because you would have only got 6 weeks. No, that's the comparison. Yes. Ray Rice got 2 weeks.
Put it so eloquently.
It's the punishment doesn't kind of fit the crime, but it is the factor of you are the first one, and we are trying to maintain the integrity of the sport, and you've really brought that into question. So see you next year. Which is unfortunate for him, but anyone else that does it now will know that, hey, if I do this, I'm going to miss a year of football.
Exactly.
So, which is big, especially at his age, probably getting very close to coming off his rookie deal or in the start of his new extension. It's huge, especially for a skill position player. You don't want to miss a year in football.
You see poor Jalen Rager copying it from his own fans. They were saying, this guy had been betting on games, sack him, etc., etc. Obviously, there's no truth behind it. It's just Philly fans being
trying to get rid of him.
Being Philly fans. Just shit chat. It explains all the drop passes, yada, yada. Poor fella.
That's it. Yeah.
So Philly fans going to Philly.
Aren't they?
So just get the facts straight, I guess. He gambled on games over a 5-day stretch. So I think it was even like a multi-leg parlay.
Yeah.
So it was like it possibly was just that one bet.
But it's just
while he was on the non-football injury reserve list, so he wasn't
dumb, isn't it,
playing.
Yeah, it is. It's just dumb.
Yeah,
It's just silly.
Yeah, interesting.
They've just thrown the book at him. The answer to that is why the length is the book, just so that everyone else doesn't try to do something similar. Anyway. Wrapping up news, Bobby Wagner was out at the Hawks, so he's going to sign elsewhere and has already been doing, I think, a few tours because he doesn't have to wait till Free A to start. Looking likely the Seahawks are in full rebuilding mode at this point, and I don't think Pete Carroll will be there next year. After that, Chargers re-signed Mike Williams on a big deal, 3 years, 60 mil. Max Crosby got paid. I think he got 100 mil over 5 years.
Yeah, right.
Signed his deal on the same day he sobered up. So just proves what can happen when you sober up.
Yeah.
At Peps.
I'll be in the NFL.
I'm kidding. And Josh Gordon decided to stay put with the Chiefs, were probably the main ones. Tags. We talked about Adams got a tag. Gesicki got a tag for the Dolphins as well. That was probably a little bit left field, being a tight end, but they want to keep him around. Dante Shaw's got a tag, but I think he got tagged and then Jarwin, they got released. Okay. So they're down the tight end. And Cam Robinson got tagged for the second year in a row. Finish up. Salary cap, 208. $208 million, up 25.7 mil on last year. Of course, last year went down because of COVID, so they recapped. But with the TV and how it was all excellent this year, it's now bumped over 200 mil for the first time. Hence why I said Rodgers has taken 25% of the Packers' salary cap. New TV deals come in next year, so even more money getting pumped into the NFL. At this point, pretty cleared favourite, number one sport in America.
Oh, by leaps and bounds, absolute daylight second, isn't it?
Yeah, with no Major League Baseball currently, still no what is it, EA agreement in place.
That agreement.
Yeah, no agreement in place. NHL being the NHL, and NBA is probably the only one that kind of compete, and they kind of shown their hand last year trying to schedule games around NFL games. It looks like which I think is an excellent kind of get for the NFL because they've gone through that period of the concussion era, essentially where everyone thought concussions might kill football, especially in the younger generation. But it's still the most popular sport, the most watched sport in America. It's gone and got through that. You still got all these superstars. We talked about all the quarterbacks leading into this. They're all there want to be involved in it. It's going to be like a ripper year, I think, going into next season. So a lot to love in the NFL, and probably why it is still the number one pick.
Yep. I've got a bail, boys. I'm going to love you and leave you. You guys will be getting on to Mickey, the Reverend, to preview the
AFL.
Yeah, the AFL and a few other sports to get through until then.
Yep. That's fair enough.
Thanks for having us. Always a pleasure on the Esky, and don't say anything too dumb without me.
We're going to struggle to even speak at this.
The IQ's gone up. The average IQ goes up when Pepe leaves. I'm kidding.
I'd argue that point, but anyway.
I argue that point as well.
Take it easy. We'll rip through the other stuff and get Mickey on, and then we'll get out of here. Monks, I was going to take a pee break, but we might wait.
Might have to keep going.
Yeah.
Power through. Yep, so on that bombshell. I'm kidding.
Take it easy, baby.
Catch you later. We'll head across to the NBA.
Bring the ladder up. I think the main chat we need to cover off is in the NBA. Lakers are still hot garbage unless LeBron is dropping 50s. Russell Westbrook can't score anything. And I think same on the 76ers.
Really struggling at the moment.
76ers side. James Harden as well can't find a bucket. But if we look at that standings, what we got? Heat still up there. At least 76ers, even with struggling with Harden, are still up there. The Bulls pulled back a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, that was only one game for Harden as well.
Yeah, it is. He's played not too bad for them.
Yep.
Yeah, Knicks still floating down there. Wizards still floating down. The Hawks still, I think the Hawks are still slowly working their way into this, which is good. Still a lot of basketball still to be played, so it's good to see them coming up.
Yeah. I guess to note on the Bills and the Bulls, sitting at number 4. They've obviously taken a little bit of a slide in the last couple of months. Hopefully they can sort of right the ship. They're on a 2-win streak at the moment.
Yeah, not too much out there. Yeah, well, Magic and Pistons officially out as well. So there you go. On the other side, Suns, I think, should be clear favourites for the title this year. They have been playing electric.
That's it. They've already clinched their playoff spot for the season.
Looks like the Warriors might have got over their slump a little bit too. They've won 3 straight. Grizzlies up there 3 straight as well. Jazz moving down a little bit. Mavericks, Nuggets, Timberwolves. Yeah, I think all the chats, Clippers and Lakers are even further behind. It doesn't have their 500 there, but they are definitely well under it. Oh, there it is. 43%. Yeah, they keep going down. To the fact that the Pelicans are almost going to take them over. Lakers lost the Rockets during the week, so
that's saying something.
Bad times ahead, unfortunately.
What do you think that means for the Lakers as a team next season? Because obviously, I guess Westbrook hasn't really been playing.
Is Bronny getting drafted next year, or is that the year after?
I don't know, actually.
It could be full rebuild. I think Westbrook's probably going to get moved, whether AD and LeBron kind of stay together there. I don't know. They're a pretty old roster, so it's whether they kind of restart at this point, I don't know.
Yeah,
I really don't know.
So unless something happens between now and then, Bronny won't be drafted until the 2024.
Yeah, so not next season, but the year after.
Yeah, that's it. Unless he wants to do a stint down here in our league.
Could also do that. Well, yeah, it's either do his 1 year. I think he's got to do a 1 year of college, or he can do a year down here.
Yeah.
That's where NBA is. Soccer? EPL?
Yeah, let's breeze through to the EPL as well.
Oh, well, there's not so much to talk about outside of that currently.
We'll start paying a bit more attention to that as we head into
we're getting closer to the pointy end of the season, definitely.
Yeah, playoffs. So we go across the EPL.
I think the main thing we got to talk about first is Ronaldo back. I think he had a 14-game stretch or something without scoring. We got a hattie, and some very, very top-notch class goals as well for that to get the win for Manchester United. I think Arsenal as well, like we were alluding to, having those games in hand, have jumped those, and I believe they're currently sitting in 4th once we get the table up.
Yes.
So they are in 4th. They are a point ahead of Manchester United, and they are 3 points clear of the Hammers, and United are 2 points in front of them. Still got 3 games in hand, though, Arsenal, so they could be... Oh, will they challenge Chelsea? Maybe not, but they've won 5 straight. They're definitely getting up there.
Yeah, I don't think they could challenge Chelsea at this point.
Yeah, Liverpool still won 5 straight. So the top 4 there are definitely kind of rounding. Any game that City lose, they're... Well, there you go. So Liverpool's got Arsenal up next.
Yep.
That's going to
be very interesting.
Big matchup, yeah. What's our Newcastle watch?
So they're slowly climbing back up the ladder.
3 win. Their last match was a loss. Is that how it works out? Or is it last match a draw? I can't. Which way does it go?
Last match was a draw.
No, last match was a loss. It's the other way around.
Sorry. Oh, yeah.
Based on the dates.
Don't worry about me.
Yeah, so draw 3 wins, and then they had a loss there against Chelsea, which is fair.
Yeah. I think
Everton's
the big one.
Still got 3 games on Watford, though. I think they should be all right, but they've lost 4 straight, which doesn't help their chances.
No, yeah.
Norwich have lost 5 straight. Brighton's also lost 5 straight as well. So, middle of the pack, they're kind of falling down. Maybe Newcastle can win a couple more games and move up a little bit. What was their next game against Newcastle? Just the last one. They've got Everton. There you go.
Yep. It's interesting to see there. I suppose probably the only other news in the EPL would be Chelsea.
The sale, yeah.
I don't think there's been too much movement in that yet.
I think it came back through. He can't sell because they've frozen his assets, so he technically can't sell it. Because if he did, he'd be getting cash. So the actual sale, so a sale of Chelsea is probably still potential, but it can't happen now because it's been frozen as part of his assets as one of the Russian billionaires caught up in all the stuff that is still ongoing in Eastern Europe. So
that's it, yeah. I think I saw Conor McGregor put up a bid for it during the week. Probably more of a joke than anything else, I'm guessing.
Yep.
It was well unders for what the owner is currently asking.
Multiple billions of dollars. So.
That's it. Headline news, I guess, on that as well. Australia is just sanctioned as a Chelsea owner, so
Well,
not that means anything for the deal, but it's just
as Russian billionaires go, he's one of the ones that is kind of in the forefront. That ever well known and a face. So not unsurprising there at all.
Yep.
Anything else interesting in the EPL besides Tom Brady watching Manchester United and then coming back?
I don't have any other news on me. I think I'm happy to leave that there.
Leave it there. F1.
Yeah, let's get into some racing. So still a couple of weeks away from round one.
Round one's this weekend, bro. It's a week away.
Wow. This week is born.
It goes so quick.
So
23rd's first race.
That's right. Jeez. They have been doing more testing this week.
Lots of testing. Haas, very fast in testing, so that's very good to see.
Yeah.
Of course, they're getting a lot more time. They get a lot more like late afternoon, evening time to do running.
Right.
I think they had some logistics issues of getting their cars to Bahrain, so they've been given a bit extra time.
Yes, they did.
So they've been able to set some of the really good times late while no one else is. So that's definitely helped them.
Yep.
But I think the big news, Kevin Magnussen, he gets the Mazepin position.
Big news for him, big news for Haas as well.
And then I think he went fastest the next day. So good to be back in F1.
That's it. I think by reports during the week, Hamilton said that their car's a little bit behind. I think I also saw on social media that he's said that the last 10 years in a row.
He always says it. Always got to downplay it.
Got to downplay it.
Red Bull looked quick though. So Max definitely did go. I think he topped the timesheets on the last day. So it's interesting that every car's kind of changing. They're all trying new aero setups and new packages, and they're all very different. We talked about that last week. So who knows? Literally, who knows Bahrain? What happens? Who comes out on top? Who wins the race? Mercedes are already saying they don't think they're going to start strong. But you never know with some of the other teams. I think Red Bull probably going to be up there, up near the top. Yeah,
I think we're still going to see the same pack up the top. Ferrari probably might be competing a little bit more. It'll be interesting.
Their car
to
looks
see
really good, but that'll just be because it could be sexy red. Be interesting to see what it's like actually come race conditions.
That's it, yeah. So I think, even more so now this season than previous seasons, that race between Ferrari and McLaren, I think, is going to really come to the forefront this year. Might even see Ferrari come into that top three, play with Red Bull and Mercedes, depending on how they perform.
Yeah. So speaking of McLaren, we've got to talk about Danny Rick. He did get officially positive to the COVID, I think about 3 days ago now. So by all accounts, it's looking likely he'll be able to suit up and race. Of course, didn't get any testing in, which is unfortunate for him. So they got to rely on what Lando did. But I think the big news is Alpine has done them a solid and said if for whatever reason, either driver, McLaren's need a spare driver, they can use our boy Oscar to come in and take that seat. So, don't want to say put this mocker on Lando, but if say Lando gets COVID, then we'll have an Australian-driven team. Lock out the two positions at McLaren there with Danny Rick and Oscar getting the Guernsey. So, which I think it's really great for Alpine, knowing as well they've got a potential really good driver and Oscar there available. He's going to probably take Alonso's seat when he retires again, next season. But if we can get him some seat time in an F1 car, especially like a car like McLaren, that's going to benefit Alpine next year. So
definitely.
If it comes out expensive for Ricciardo for a race, I think it's good sportsmanship between the teams to know that, hey, I've got a really good driver here that's on the cusp, really should have a position over maybe some other bottom order drivers there, but we'll take him into next season and see how he goes.
Yeah, it's interesting. And like you said, it's good for Pastari as well to get in there. So I was just doing quick research as well. So Andretti team, they've officially got that bid for the 2024 team. So even if it's for something in the future, that far in the future, it's good to know that he's still there. And yeah, back on Haas and Magnussen, he's obviously a known commodity there, it's only been one season since he's been out of the team. So you can sort of understand the reasoning why they went with him rather than a backup driver or try and pick someone else up. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, yeah.
Big start to season coming up.
That's it.
A week away.
Everyone. I think also...
Lots of uncertainty, which I think is great.
Yeah, it was good to see during this week's testing there was a few more overtakes. People sort of playing around with the cars a little bit more.
Who was it? It was Lewis and Gasly, I think, had a little bit of back and forth on the track, which I think was good to see.
I think it might have been Stroll and Alonso as well, sort of playing around. So good to see that. Good to see, hopefully. Yeah,
close racing can
closer
follow.
Racing.
Less aero.
Yeah, that's it.
Exciting.
Obviously, a lot of the cars are still porpoising, so that's that bouncing up and down on those long straight fast stretches.
I think Lando had real big issues with that in his car. So.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how that progresses throughout the season. And then on the technical side, I think a little bit with Mercedes, they had a completely redesigned side pods. Mm-hmm. So rather than going for the wide sort of horizontal gaps for their side pods.
They went very basic kind of the square side pods to start, and then everyone was like, well, we kind of maybe discredited or didn't use those. We already said they weren't going to be good enough. But now they've come out with a completely slim design.
Yeah, so rather than going out horizontal, they've gone down vertical. I think Red Bull, or more so Christian Horner, the principal for Red Bull, came out saying that he reckons that's illegal. Don't know about the technicality of it. But yeah, I think Red Bull's come out after that saying that's his comments, not ours. But we'll have a look at it and make sure that's all good. But yeah, interesting to see with the new aero packages and stuff, people thinking outside of the box.
Definitely.
Yeah. Kick off the season this weekend. Mm-hmm. Should be good fun.
So, F1, into fighting, UFC. We talked about, what was it, UFC 272 last week, who we thought how would go. Do you want to bring up the card for us? I think we were all right on Hardy. Hardy getting knocked out in the first round. Couldn't happen to a nicer bloke, and he got cut during the week. So I think I said that that's probably him done in the UFC, and that by all accounts that is the case.
Yeah.
So then, what was the fight after that? I'll let you bring it up. I can't remember off the top of my head who it was. What do we have after? Oh yes, Kevin Holloway and Oliveira. Oliveira won that first round and looked like he was trying to sink in a sub lane, and then Holland did the two thumbs up, was all good.
Yeah.
And then came out early in the second and just overwhelmed the other cowboy with elbows and the power. Essentially knocked him down, knocked him out, and got the job done in that one.
Yeah.
So good to see him come down a weight division and also look really well. So that was good to see. So see what he can do in that kind of welterweight division. I think he's probably going to get ranked. He might not get ranked yet, but he'll be in that 10 to 15 range, I think, coming down. Bryce Mitchell taking on Barbosa. Absolute dominating fight for Mitchell. Just ground and pound, took him down and beat him up. I think in the end, one judge gave him 2 10-8 rounds to that effect. I think that's how that works out. Yeah, 2 10-8 rounds. One other judge gave him 1 10-8 round. The other one just gave him normal 10-9s. So absolute dominating performance from him. Dos Santos then came out at the catchweight at 160. And his fight, again, very dominant in that. Potentially gave away the last round, though one judge gave it to him. He did get a 10-8 in that, by the looks of it as well.
So just recap on that. So Morikano came in for a fighter. Yeah, is that what happened?
Yeah, he came in. He was 10 days notice or 2 weeks notice. So yeah, he came in on short notice for that. Was very game. Did get beat up. Did, in my opinion, win the 5th round. Landed a bit better. probably too late in the end. But you could see that he definitely had the capability there, and Dos Santos kind of coasted that last little bit in the fight.
Yeah.
Which I guess gets us into the main card, which is the welterweight Kobe Covington taking on Jorge Masvidal. What do you think of this one, Monkey?
For me personally, probably a little bit of a downer. Covington relied a lot more on his wrestling to sort of stifle Masvidal, make sure that Masvidal didn't stay on his feet and strike, which makes perfect sense.
I think Masvidal didn't do himself any favours as well. Like, he was getting on the cage too much. He probably should have stayed, tried to... Again, we're talking hindsight and making that sound so easy.
That's it. We're not getting punched in the head. Or
he should have stayed inside and tried to stay in the centre of the ring instead of getting pushed outside. But Colby did what he's going to do, which is, jab the shit out of you, wrestle you, and try to get into good positions. He was just so much better on the ground than Masvidal. Masvidal did as much as he could. He did land an excellent shot, I think, in the fourth round to put Colby on his ass. But he was gassed at that point. Like, he was super tired. There was no way he was getting into that.
Well, he didn't even chase Covington down after he hit him, knocked him down. It was sort of just backed off, retreated, tried to catch his breath, and then...
Yeah, and he said that was
the next onslaught.
He should have tried to push the pace there, but he was exhausted at that point, having been wrestled the shit out of. So I think in the end, I think he got one. Well, in my opinion, Masvidal probably got one round, but he was beaten up in all the other ones quite handily. Covington played into his game plan, played his style of fight. Really didn't get Jorge into kind of his striking battle. So not that Colby played it safe, but I think he did. No. He fought the way he needs to fight to win. So
and Kobe can take a hit as well, so I don't think he was too scared.
He's got a great chin.
I was surprised that Masvidal either didn't or couldn't use his kick more effectively. Not try and keep Covington at bay, try and make sure he didn't shoot as much.
Yeah, but the other thing, you throw those kicks, they're open you up to takedowns too, so it's challenging.
Yeah.
So, and I just realistically didn't have enough on the ground to get himself into positions to get back up. In a few instances he did, but overall the wrestling was just so much better from Colby to get the win here.
Yeah, that's it.
Where do they go to from now?
Sure,
really.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of bad blood between the two. It wasn't any hype to the fight.
Yeah, there was no cuddling or anything after the fight.
So obviously, as ex-teammates, had a falling out, and then over the last couple of, I guess, years, been a lot of back and forth. Covington obviously always has choice words to say before a fight to try and hype it up, but from all accounts, it wasn't a show or anything like that. There really is bad blood between the two.
It might have started off as a show, but it definitely devolves in the point that they don't like each other.
That's it.
It is what it is.
Yeah, Masvidal's had that with a couple other fighters like Askren. Yes. Obviously another fighter that he's had a bit of beef with. Both said they'll throw hands in the car park after the fight if needed. So do you see them going around again?
Hard to say. Do you want to bring up the welterweight rankings currently? Because I think Usman's still on that Canelo, hype train, trying to chase that down. Gilbert Burns, can you just check to see if I think Burns actually might be booked against Edwards. Masvidal does move down. Masvidal, hard to say what he's going to do, whether, there's chat about the Nate Diaz again or Conor McGregor again, just some name fights, but that doesn't really get him any closer to the belt again, I don't think, which is unfortunate for Masvidal. There is a lot of good fighters in between him and that belt now. So if Burns is booked against Edwards, I think winner of that probably gets Usman.
Yep. So Burns' next fight in 10th of April is against Khamzat. Chimazi.
Who's number 11 currently, but big time up and comer. Like he's on the ascendancy. He's on that Khabib ascendancy essentially. So that's that's the kind of he's ranked 11, but he kind of talks to his fighting capability that he's getting number 2. Yeah, so depending on what Usman wants to do, if he wants to chase Canelo, then by all means go do that. If not, maybe it makes sense that the trilogy against Colby Covington's what's up next, or he gets the winner out of that Burns fight.
Yeah,
Kazmas.
Yeah, that might be a bit of a stretch. I think that would probably be more so to see whether or not Gilbert jumps Covington, or if Khamzat jumps up to 3rd, 4th.
Yeah,
you'd be surprised.
I don't know if the UFC just wants to do a trilogy like that so soon. Colby was doing better and better. Like in the second fight, he was doing better than he was in the first fight against Usman. But Usman's kind of gone to another stratosphere currently of where he's at. Career-wise, hence the chat with Canelo. Leon Edwards, I think, is probably a bit hard done live there as number 3. So, actually, that's probably the fight for Masvidal. If I want to get back in that top 5, I've got Edwards? Edwards. I've got the 3-piece and a soda still to be sorted out because they had that backstage confrontation. They've never officially kind of been put together. So. But, that doesn't really help Edwards now because he's now significantly ranked higher than Masvidal is, whereas roles were reversed when they did that, 2-3 years ago. So, to be seen. Final little bit of UFC news. Whittaker versus Vettori has been booked. I think that's May-ish.
Yeah, I think it's... Yeah, so it's going to be 275.
So
it
might even be sooner than that. That'll be end of April.
I can't find a date as of yet.
But they're going to headline that card, I think, which is 1 taking on 3. So, again, potential winner of that. I mean, of course, Adesanya has beat both those blokes. Bronson's coming off a loss himself. Cannonier's probably the next in line for the title shot, but winner of this probably then gets whoever wins the title shot to run it back for either Vettori double time or whether it'll be a 3-peat trilogy for Whittaker. So
again, very hard sort of division as well. Like you've got those top.
It's one of the most stacked divisions.
4,
I think.
where I mean, you obviously got some names that have sort of slid down there recently. Like you got Costa, you got Till, who hasn't really been that active recently. Gaslam's taken a bit of a slide as well.
Yeah, Riot Hall's really a name at this point.
Yeah. But that being said, like any one of those guys takes on a fight up against one of those top tier fighters, and then they're right back in the discussion again.
Definitely.
It's really, really hard to gauge that one. But on that, so UFC 275, at the moment, they're in talks with getting Glover Teixeira and Yuri, I'm going to mince this, Prochazka fighting. So I'm assuming that's the fight to make. For the belt for light heavyweight.
Correct.
And I think they're also looking at Valentina Shevchenko up against Talia Santos as well.
Tasty.
For that card as well.
Where's Santos ranked? Is she...
let's find that out.
Women's flyweight...
Number
5.
5th ranked at the moment.
5th ranked, yeah. Everyone else on that list has already lost to Valentino. So.
Yeah, that's it. Like Valentino's... basically clean the board with that one. So unless you get a fight where Santos tries to move up the ladder first, I guess it's the most logical fight in that division as well. Interesting enough. So we'll see if and when those fights get booked, and then what other fights are on that card. But yeah, I guess surprisingly enough, Whittaker and Vettori is not going to be doesn't seem to be the main event on that card. So, they'll probably. Well, if that's the case, they've got 2 title fights ahead of them. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, they'd probably be number 3, but that's still that's a huge
card.
That's a huge card.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, in between now and then, there is a couple of other UFC fights that we'll probably preview and wrap up as we get closer to those.
Definitely.
And as they happen. Yeah.
When's UFC 273?
That's a great question.
This weekend or the following weekend?
I'll bring that up as you bring Mickey on the call. So 273 is going to be on the 9th of April.
Okay, yeah, a couple of weeks away. We'll preview that when we get closer to it.
Yep, that's it. Again, that one is another fight with 2 championship belts on the line as well. So yeah, that'll be a good one to bring up as we get closer.
Yeah, very good. With that said, I think that's the main potty done. I think we might take a quick pre-break because I'm busting, and we'll get jumped into the AFL very, very shortly. So give us a couple of minutes to get that set up, and we'll get stuck in.
Sounds good.
I'll be back.
All right.
You can talk to yourself if you want. All right, let's see. We get Mr. Mickey. And then we're going to get stuck into the AFL.
That we are.
Oh, there he is. Do you hear us, Mickey?
Yeah, I can hear you, lads.
Alrighty.
Awesome.
Let's put you more central. You're filling in for Pepe. We lost to Pepe Julo. He had to leave. He was feeling a bit sick.
Oh, no good.
All right. Welcome, Mr. Mickey, our AFL correspondent from the Adelaide. How you doing, lad?
Yeah.
Thanks, lads. Good to be on. Doing well.
How's the weather over there? Hot?
Yeah, it's like 36 today, so got the aircon on for sure.
So, how are we going to do this, Mickey? Have you got them in alphabetical order? We'll run through them.
Go through the teams in alphabetical order. Speaking of being in Adelaide, we can start with Adelaide Crows first.
Yes.
That's good. I guess by way of introduction, obviously we've got the opening round of the AFL season this week. So I guess really what we're going to do is, just have a quick run through all the teams as they stand at the moment, where they sort of finished up last season, some quick stats on how they went, where we reckon they'll get better, what the issues are that they should be addressing, and then I guess a prediction of where they may or may not sit at the end of this season.
Agree.
Yeah. So, do you want to kick us off with Adelaide?
Yeah, season's only 2 sleeps away, boys. Actually starting on a Wednesday, which is a bit unusual. But grand final rematch to start the season, and the Ds will be happy to be unveiling the premiership flag at MCG. But yeah, let's get stuck in the season preview. So Adelaide Crows finished 2021 with 7 wins, 15 losses and 15th place. I think where they get better this year, return of Matt Crouch, so former All-Australian, played 0 games last year due to ongoing groin injuries. He's a big addition into their midfield. They also picked up free agency Jordan Dawson, kind of running halfback, winger, even kind of half forward from Sydney. Good long left foot kick. He's a good pickup. And then Josh Rochelle is the 6th pick in the draft. He's looked really good in the preseason. He kicked 3 goals versus Port Adelaide. So there's some of the players that might make the Crows improve a bit this year. But then I think the biggest issues for them, no Tex for the first 3 games of the year, still serving that suspension for some naughty words. And so for those, that start of the year, it's kind of the question is where do they get their goals in those games? They were the 4th lowest scoring team last year, and without Tex, that's not going to help. They might have a bit of a slow start to the season.
Yeah. Do you think Tex is going to be vintage Tex? Or do you think another year on, is Tex starting to get a bit on the nose?
He started last year hot and then kind of fizzled out. They really want Riley Tilthorpe. He was their number 1 pick. It's now his 2nd season. He's the heir apparent. So they'll be trying to make him the main man. Darcy Fogarty's another big forward that they'll want to see some improvement. So it's probably about Tex wanting him to contribute, but starting to get those younger blokes to really be the centre points.
Sort of changing of the guards. They've also got Freo, Collingwood, and Port in the first 3 rounds as well. So probably not the easiest matches to go into the start of the season.
But also not the hardest. Port and Showdown's obvious one there. That, Freo and they play in Freo in Perth.
No, Adelaide.
Oh, okay. So so maybe they could sneak one of those. Maybe.
So where do you think the Crom finish? Slight improvement?
Maybe so they were 15th last year. Maybe a slight improvement to 13th, 14th. I mean, they're still a young team. Still about getting games into the kids. Rochelle, as I mentioned. Harry Schonberg's a midfielder who started to show a bit of promise last year, and then Fogarty and Tilthorpe as the forwards. They want to get games into them. So, maybe a slight improvement, but no rapid rise up the ladder.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I suppose speaking of slight improvement, Sean, you'd probably be pretty interested in this next team.
I definitely want to see improvement from the Brisbane Lions. So what do we have? They finished last year with 15 wins, 7 losses, and were 4th position. They did, of course, lose in the second week of the finals to the Western Bulldogs by 1 point.
It's a pretty close, disappointing loss in the finals there. So where they get better, return of Cam Rayner, former number 1 pick, missed all of last year due to ACL injury. He's back. And I think a lot of last year, Lockie Neal, Jared Berry, they played some games, but they also carried injuries for long stretches. They look healthy now. Especially Jared has looked on fire in the preseason. He's getting heaps of touches. And then they probably missed Eric Hipwood towards the end of last season. He got injured. I don't think he's ready to go just yet, but hopefully he kind of does the reverse of last year and he comes back towards the end of the season for the finals push and gives them a bit of a boost towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I like how you picked out Cam Rayner in that, because from what I've seen, he looks very trim. He came for me. He came into the league maybe a little bit pudgy. Had some of that baby fat, but now he's rounding into looking like an elite AFL forward. So interesting to see how he goes to start the year as well.
Yeah, well, when he kind of got drafted, he was the next Dusty was the comparison, because he was kind of thick through the hips and the quads and that kind of stuff. And so he's played a lot of forward time, because maybe he hasn't had the tank to run through the middle, but if you can add Rayner as a midfielder to Lyons and Zorko and Neil and McCluggage running through the centre, you're starting to bat pretty deep in the midfield. Biggest issues I see for Brisbane, they didn't really add anyone. They're just kind of hoping for getting growth from inside, so no real notable free agents or draftees. And then I think Brisbane, they're good to go in the regular season, but can they get over the finals hump? It's in the last 3 years, they've been 1-5 in the finals, with 5 of those games being played at home at the Gabba. That's twice they've been 0-2 and out of there in straight sets. So, they can't seem to progress into the GF and then into winning the thing. So, can they get over that hump?
Yep. Yeah, still a very young team, but like you say, they do need to take that next step. Should still contend, probably make it into the top 4, but got to capitalize on that premiership window. We've talked a lot about windows, so potentially last year it's open, depending on what happens with Lachie Neale if he wants to go back out west. A lot riding on this season, and a lot needs to go their way. Hopefully they have a really good season. That's fingers crossed. That's the hope, especially from the closet Lions fan on the end of the table. Who's next on the list? The Blue Baggers.
Top 4, contend for top 4 again, but I think this is the year for them to get it done. If they don't get it done this year, then they might miss their chance. But
agree. Your Blue Baggers, Mickey?
Yeah, Carlton next on the list. So disappointing 8 wins, 14 losses, and a 13th position last year. Where they get better, they finally added some midfield depth by adding genuine midfielders. So last year, tried to get Zach Williams as a free agent, make him a midfielder. He's not really one. He's a halfback flanker. This year, they've gone after Chera from Fremantle, and then George Hewitt, who's probably a bit of a sneaky signing during the free agency, but he should provide really good, valuable depth to midfield. He's a good tagger and defensive kind of midfielder, tackle machine. So, Chera Hewitt really should be there to help out Cripps and Walsh and add a bit of depth to the midfield. Excited to see what Michael Voss does as coach. Second chance.
Definitely.
Was a fairly young coach when he first had a crack at Brisbane Lions. That didn't work out, but gone back. He's been at Port Adelaide the last few years where they've had some success, and he's probably matured as a coach. Of course, was a fantastic player. So really hoping he, in his second crack at a head coaching gig, works out well. And he's got to fix the big issues last year were our lack of pressure and disposal efficiency. So they're the 2 issues that he would be red hot on fixing. Other issues to overcome for the Blues, I think the loss of Liam Jones to retirement, didn't officially say it because it was COVID vax related, but you could put 2 and 2 together with the timing. But I think he leaves a bit of a hole at centre half back. And it looks like maybe Mitch McGovern might be switched from a forward to the back to fill in that. But that's a bit of a hole that needs to be filled. And up front, they're super reliant on Harry Mackay and Charlie Curnow. So can't afford for any of those 2 not to be on the park. But the problem is that they're pretty brittle. If there was a few times last year when Mackay was out and they were playing Cripps or Matthew Kennedy, who are big-bodied midfielders, they're playing them as a full forward. We just didn't really have a plan B if kick it to Harry, plan A doesn't work out. So, you have to come up with maybe a plan B and plan C this season. That'll be good.
Where do you think you see them finishing? Is this a bit of head or heart?
I think they're in the fight for 8th. I'm not going to put them in there. I think, I'm sure stats will come out. It's been like the last 8-9 years, whatever it is, that they haven't won a game in the first 2 weeks. And
they love talking.
And then Western Bulldogs straight up. So they're not being eased into it. If they can sneak one of those two, maybe a chance. But you don't want to start from 0-2 again. It's hard because you have to look at the teams who are in the top 8 last year. How many of them do you see making it again? How many do you see sliding out?
Yep.
We'll get to GWS later, but maybe they're the only one who I'm sure will slide out. So, maybe only one team from outside last year's 8 jumps up. So I reckon there'll be a bit of a log jam in the middle of the table. So, Carlton could be as high as 8th, could be as low as 12th on a prediction. So.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, that middle of the pack fight to get into the 8 is going to be really exciting this year, I reckon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because a team like the Bombers, we'll get to them later, kind of in that kind of pack as well, and where they played towards the end of the year. They're definitely going to be. It's going to be a big fight, bit of a logjam there, definitely. Collingwood.
Yeah, well, they really dropped down the ladder last year after being grand final not that long ago. They only had the 6 wins, 16 losses, which of course saw Nathan Buckley out. So new coach this year, Craig McRae, former Brisbane Lions. So they finished second last year.
Do you think some of those struggles were potentially more the off-field drama than the on-field stuff? Because they had the whole Eddie situation and all the back and forth with essentially the whole front office was getting turned over. So
it doesn't help the situation.
Not the start to the season you want, but hopefully for Pies fans, they'll be thinking from second last. I think the only way to go is up. So how they get better than last year?
You'd hope
I think
so.
Nick Dacos, very highly regarded recruit, has already looked pretty good in the preseason midfielder, but they may be running him off the half back line even. But he looks like a star already. Pat Lipinski's come across from the Bulldogs. Couldn't really get a game in their midfield, so he adds a bit of depth to their midfield. And it looks like there might be Scotty Pendlebury. He might be swinging out of the midfield more onto the half-back line, use his good decision-making skills to bring it out of defence and link up with the midfield and the forwards. So that might be where they get a bit better. But, I think the biggest issues they have is the forward half. There were times last year they really struggled to score. Third lowest scoring team. The 12 forwards, they don't really put the fear into anyone. Maybe Mason Cox with his officially approved Sunnies now. Maybe he's a bit more intimidating, but Cox and Myercheck, they don't really. Jamie Elliott's probably their best forward, and little small forward, maybe DeGoey down there as well. So for the Pies, putting on scores and outscoring teams is where they're going to struggle, I think.
So it sounds like very much a repeat of last year, maybe slight improvements, but bottom 4 again.
Yeah, I think so.
So I think Monk's Bombers up next. Essendon. Finished 11-11 last year, so right at 500. Did finish 8th, so snuck into that spot, but did lose the first week of the finals, getting hammered by the Western Bulldogs by 49.
Fair enough.
What do you think they've done? Have they done enough in the off-season, or have they gone more of the development? They're focusing on those young fellas to kind of take the next step.
Yeah, they had a big draft pool in 2020. Had Archie Perkins, Nick Cox, Harrison Jones. They all made a little bit of an impact, and Perkins in particular has looked pretty good this preseason. So they'll be hoping they can drive the growth and the improvement. And already saw there was some growth from guys like Darcy Parish. He really stepped up last year, became a genuine A-grader. Anzac Day was really his coming out parade, and he won a few best on grounds last year. But Jai Caldwell, who's a guy from the Giants, he only played about a handful of games before he got injured. I think McGrath was injured for bits, Shield, Heppel.
Yeah.
They all miss big chunks of time, but if they all play together, that's a really good midfield.
Yeah, definitely. I really like if their midfield can keep healthy. I think they'll do very well and this season. And I think probably one area that I wanted to touch on was they also picked up Jake Kelly from the Crows. So hopefully help solidify that back line as well a little bit. Hopefully.
So where are their biggest issues?
Yeah, I think so. We didn't mention their mids are their strengths, but I think their talls are potentially their biggest issues. So Cal Hooker, who was a bit of a swingman between attack and defence, he's retired. And then Michael Hurley, who has been a really good fullback, centre halfback for them, he missed all of last year. He's battling ongoing hip injury, so really kind of awkward kind of injury. He's still battling that. He's still not back yet. So that's a bit of a hole. I think, the man on Monk's shirt there, and they need him to, he's a cult figure. Need him, 2 metre Peter, and then Harrison Jones. They're the ones who've got to step up to provide the improvement from last year. And it'll be interesting just to see how it goes. Some of these clubs, they've done these transition plans, Malthouse to Buckley is one example, but Essendon going from Woosha to now Truck Rutten. Is it going to be a smooth transition? Is it going to be a bit of a bumpy ride? It seemed like Rutten was really taking a lot of the reins last year anyway, so it should be a pretty smooth handover, but that could be something they have to overcome this year.
Yeah, that's it. I think also they picked up in the draft Patrick Voss from GWS Academy. I think he's going to be that tall utility, so I think he's like just under 2 meters. So hopefully, he can either develop into a good back or forward player and really help out with that talls group. I think they also picked up Dale Tapping as forwards assistant coach from the Lions. So really help, their forward pack as well.
So
which I like.
Where do you see them finishing? What's your heart say?
I can't. Yeah, the notes there are 6th as a ceiling. I can't see them getting past the 6th. I think your top 4 is almost pretty set at this point. 5 and 6 are there or thereabouts. Look, if they're playing finals football, if they can get through first week of final football, I'm happy. I think they're still a relatively young team. They're still got heaps of improvement. So I'm just happy with that slow burn. Just keep on improving year on year until they get into that top 4. So I'm happy anywhere between 8 and 6 really.
Yeah, well, their window really hasn't opened.
Fans that be crying out for a finals win.
Yeah.
It's been, I think, 6,000 days and counting or something like that. So.
Yeah, that's it. So I'm happy just to get into finals at this point.
I hope they make it and then lose first week, so it'll be funny.
You're an evil man.
Brutal. Yeah.
Up next, we're going to talk.
Continue on.
Yeah, we'll talk about Fremantle. They finished 10 wins with 12 losses in 11th position. Sorry, space. What was I saying? Space. Position. Where do you see them getting better this year, Mickey?
Yeah, so they got a couple of young mids who really starting to show like they're quite highly drafted and they're starting to live up to the potential. So Andrew Brayshaw was a number 2 pick. He's really looking quite strong. Caleb Sarong. So those 2 guys continuing, hopefully take some of the pressure off Nat Fyfe and Dave Mundy as the older boys in the midfield. Improvement from those guys. Young running defender Hayden Young. He's showed really good signs, good user, left foot, long left foot kick. But he's only played 13 games across 2 seasons. Yeah, they'll really be hoping get more out of him this year, get a bigger impact from him.
Do you think though their season is dependent on Nat Fyfe?
Oh, yeah. I think they've got Nat Fyfe and then Matt Tabner, two crucial players for them. You could probably throw Sean Darcy in there as their ruckman, but Fyfe, he's too tough for his own good sometimes, doesn't preserve himself very well, throws himself into some dangerous situations.
What's he been struggling with? Shoulder injuries? His shoulders are a bit banged
probably
up.
from carrying the team for the past 10 years, but he's a little layup of a joke there. But Matt Tabner as well, he's actually been a bit of a project guy at full forward, and when he's on the park, he's producing nicely. But again, hasn't been. He played 16 games last year, so missed 6. They'll be wanting to get full seasons out of those guys.
Definitely.
And I wonder for Freo. So they picked up Jordan Clark from Geelong, a bit of a speed guy, runner, and then Will Brody is a bigger body inside mid. Picked him up from Gold Coast Suns, and I'll be hoping between the two of them they can kind of cover the loss of Chera, who was starting to look pretty good for Freo last year. And I don't see them changing much from last year. They're in that middle of the table log jam between 8th and 12th, similar to Carlton, GWS, some of the others. So, maybe some improvement, but, is it going to be enough to push them up, into a genuine finals contender? I'm not convinced.
Yeah.
I really liked what Darcy was doing last year. Really came on strongly as a ruckman. So potentially that with the support of the others, the health, they could maybe challenge that 8th spot. But outside of that, I think they're going to struggle again or get stuck in that logjam, as you say.
I think the season success, they won, I think it was about the first time in 6 years they beat West Coast last year. So if they can win 1 or 2 games against West Coast, they'll probably count it as a success.
What's up next? Geelong, Father Time?
The old boys. So Dad's Army, they are. 16 wins, 6 losses, finished last year in 3rd. A kick away from finishing as minor premiers, but Maxi Gawn had something to say about that. And then Melbourne creamed them in the prelim final by 83 points. Wasn't even a contest. So where they get better, they had Jeremy Cameron. He was a big recruit last year. Only played the 15 games.
Yep.
So they'll be hoping to get a full season out of him. Get full season out of Cameron and Hawkins. That's a potent forward line. And where they missed Tom Stewart big time in the final series. He's their leader down back. He's a 3-time All-Australian. He's been promoted to their vice captain. Shows how highly he's rated by the club. And his absence was really noted in the final series. So they'll be happy to have him back. But their biggest issue, they're real Dad's Army. This was a bit of pot kettle stuff when I was going through these notes. They've got all these players over 30, and then you realise all these guys are the same age as you. But,
that's it. I went through.
So they've got 11 players, 30 years or older. So when you have 22 on the field, in your lineup, and half your team's over 30, not great. So you do wonder if they have enough speed to compete with the other top 4 hopefuls. That's the AFL. They want to see faster footy. Last year with the new stand, man on the mark rule, they wanted to see faster footy. So in the past, when Geelong's been up there, they've had the option to rest key players. But are they going to be up the top of the ladder, with enough of a lead to rest key players? I don't think they will. So all these older guys are going to have to play week in, week out. Are they going to have enough energy come final series again? So
that's it. You're really putting a lot of pressure on the younger players to sort of, bridge that gap in terms of, the speed and agility that they see. But that being said, you look at that list, they're pretty handy players as well. You wouldn't not want to have those guys on the field for you as well.
Just having them all together makes it a challenge. Yeah. I feel like they're gatekeepers. I think your prediction there probably in that 5th to 6th range is probably right. I always feel like currently with the way the league is, to win a premiership, you've got to go through Geelong. So that's why I think they fit right there as the gatekeepers. If you can play a tough, grindy out game against a veteran side like that, then you've put yourself in good stead to potentially make a run at winning a premiership. So I think it's a fair kind of spot there, being in 5th or 6th.
Yeah, I mean, they'll win their fair share of games at home, and they play their home ground really well. But I think 2020 grand final, third quarter, Dusty shut their premiership window. So, I think they'll be in the finals. But like you said, a bit of a gatekeeper for the clubs that are going to compete for the premiership.
Someone that's probably not going to be competing for a premiership this year is going to be Gold Coast. They had 7 wins and 15 losses for 16th. I don't see much improvement, unfortunately, for the club. Potentially going to be bottom again. What are your thoughts here, Mickey?
Yeah, I think Matt Rowell is the one that people are hoping to get around. He's kind of in his third season now. Showed a bit. He stormed onto the league in his first season, and then has had knee and shoulder injuries. So, everyone's hoping that he gets back to the form that he showed when he first debuted. Jared Witts, their ruckman and their captain, he only played 3 games last year due to an ACL. So they'll be happy to have him back. He makes a big difference for them. But their biggest issues, I think, is where do they score points? They were the lowest scoring team last year, and they've lost Ben King, their full forward. He's already gone for the season due to an ACL, and he's the guy that they couldn't afford to lose. He kicked 47 goals last year. The next highest was Josh Corbett with 23. So King had double, anyone else. So they've picked up new recruits. Marbiel Chol, he's come across from Richmond, seeking more opportunities. And then Levi Casbolt, I think he retired then unretired, which is probably the chat of the day. He's ended up at Gold Coast as well. So they'll be hoping those guys can kind of fill the Ben King-sized hole. But, I think my prediction, I see these guys, running last. And I think unless Matt Rowell gets on a heater, you have Suns fantasy players, you probably aren't tuning in to watch this team unless they're playing against your team.
Just by default,
Yes. Not a late viewing.
It's about their 11th or 12th season as a franchise, and they've been a bit of a disappointment. They're probably not changing that this season.
No. And after all the support they got to stand up the franchise and to get all the things through, it is a bit of a disappointment. We don't need to talk about long term if the Gold Coast are going to stay there or whether they'll have to move them elsewhere. But it's if you're a Gold Coast fan, dire times ahead, I think is what we're saying.
Tassie keeps petitioning the league for a team, but I don't know if you can move a team called the Suns down to Tasmania.
The wet and miserable.
Might need to rebrand that one. What do you reckon the fix for the Suns is? If you can sum that up quick,
good players.
I mean, it's really hard to know because it seemed like when Ablett was there, they were getting improvement, and then their first coach was Guy McKenna, and they sacked him, and they probably went too quick on that one, and they've kind of been since then. It's been a bit of a basket case. So
recovery.
I think some of their young players are committing to staying at the club. They did have a bit of a problem of guys like Tom Lynch, Charlie Dixon, Dion Prestia, some of these big recruits that kind of left. So it does seem that some of their guys are hanging around. So maybe just a bit of patience.
No, that's fair enough.
Well, whether the league will give them that patience or not is going to be the chat going forward. But like I said, not a great outlook on the future. Speaking of a team with probably not a great outlook is the GWS Giants. They did win 11 games and 10 losses. With one draw, they finished 7th, were eliminated in the finals by Sydney by 1 point.
No, they beat Sydney.
They won, Sydney by 1 point, and then lost the next week to Geelong by 35. Where do you see them going? Is it mostly just the young fellas got to step up? Hogan's got to be healthy?
Yeah, Hogan's a big one for them. Played 9 games last year. Decent output, 20 goals from those games. But he was kind of, they have Hogan and Himmelberg. And then last year they had Jeremy Finlayson as the kind of 3 talls. But Finlayson's, he's at Port Adelaide now. So, yeah, it's really on Hogan and Himmelberg to be the key bananas up front. So he's got to play, double the games that he played last year for them to get better. And then, the young midfielders, Jacob Hopper, Tom Green, Lockie Ash, starting to show some good signs. And they do, bat pretty deep, and it'll probably allow them to use guys like Tim Taranto and Stephen Cornelio probably more in the forward half if those younger guys come through and can be trusted to kind of deliver in the midfield. But yeah, I think the biggest hurdle that they're going to have to overcome is no Toby Green for the first 5 weeks. They tend to struggle when Toby's out of the lineup. Obviously that really silly decision in the Sydney final last year, just to unnecessarily touch that umpire, which got the 3, and then the AFL stepped in to extend it out to 6. So they could be playing catch up all year. They start poorly while he's serving that suspension. They could be trying to start poorly and catch up all year.
Did they?
So I think they're in the.
Did they tweak the rules around? Was it tweak the rules or added an extra emphasis on player and referee conduct? I think I saw something to that effect during last week or the week before. That they were kind of maybe not stamp it out, but the better look. Essentially they don't want another Toby Green incident. I think I can't remember if it was a rule change or they're going to put an extra emphasis on it, but it's a Toby Green rule essentially now. So be interested to see how or if any of that impacts the games to start the season.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's an official rule, but the precedent's been set, hasn't it? That this is the example now.
Like you say, prediction for them, probably in that logjam with the others, fighting for a spot to make it into the 8.
But I think they're one of the teams that probably made the finals last year that I don't see back there again this year.
Yeah.
I mean, when they've made finals and won a final 5 of the last 6 years, but probably not this year.
So I'm moving on to Hawthorn. They finished last year with 7 wins, 13 losses, and 2 draws to finish 14th. Where do you see them getting better? They've got a new head coach as well. Did they end up with a new head coach? How did that saga all play out?
First time in a long time for Hawthorn. So, the great one, Alistair Clarkson, got shown the door. So I think Hawthorn is still paying him this year, but they're putting a lot of trust in one of the captains that served under Clarko of Sam Mitchell. So he's taken the reins. It'll be interesting to see. I'd probably got high hopes for the Essendon transition being smoother than the Hawthorn one.
Yes.
I think where they get better than last year. I think the number 7 pick from the last draft, Josh Ward, he's looked pretty smooth in the preseason. He's had good opportunity to get good midfield minutes because they've kind of sat Tom Mitchell and Jaeger O'Meara. They haven't played them in preseason, so Ward's had a really good run of it. James Sicily, he missed all of last year due to an ACL. He's kind of their barometer. He adds a bit of the feistiness in their back line. They'll be glad he's back. And then a guy, Sean, you'll probably like this guy because, Denver Granger Barras, he's the number 6 pick in 2020. He's a tall defender. They got 5 games out of him. If he can play a bit more last year, they were using Ben McAvoy. He's probably their number one ruck. They were using him a bit in defence last year, but if Granger Barras can lock down a defensive post, they can use McAvoy more in the ruck or more up forward. So they'll be hoping that that's what happens.
So where's their struggles? Is it mostly in their back line in the defence?
Yeah, running defenders to start the year. So they've got CJ, Giath, and then Jarman Impey, Will Day. They're all really exciting running defenders. They provide lots of X factor, and they're all injured. I think Giath may be a question mark whether he can actually get back a bit earlier than they think. But yeah, without them, they're just a bit vanilla. These guys really provide the X factor. And I think, we said though, where'd they finish last year? It was 14th. 14th, yeah. That was probably a bit higher than they deserved. They kind of got a bit of a bump at the end of the season when, it was announced that Clarko was leaving. Yep. It seemed he waved the magic wand one more time, got a few, 3 wins and 1 draw to kind of finish the season, kind of bumped them up a few spots. But, for most of the year, they were bottom 2, bottom 3. So, I see them probably sliding back down a couple of spots because, that run towards the end probably bumped them up a bit higher than where they should have been.
Yeah, probably competing with Gold Coast for the spoon, we think. Speaking of a team that won't be in the bottom half, it'll be probably out of the top, leaping the competition last year. We got Melbourne. They finished with 17 wins, only 4 losses, 1 draw. They, of course, finished first, were the premiers, and won that grand final by a small margin in 74 points. So very dominant display from them last year. Do we see them continuing as it's the start of a new dynasty? What do you think?
Yeah, the AFL kind of, it seems to have a bit more of these dynasties, Brisbane Lions in the early 2000s, and then Geelong was strong for a period, Hawthorn, and then Richmond. So it does seem to have these kind of, once you get to the top, you do kind of tend to stay there for a little while. I think they're going to really enjoy playing in Melbourne this year.
Yes.
Plenty of good times ahead for D's players and their fans at the G. They're going to love that. Biggest issues for them, I'm having a clutch at straws to find any because they didn't lose any key players to free agency, retirement. Oliver, Petrarca, they're right in their sweet spot of their careers. A big loss maybe for them was fitness guru Darren Burgess. He's really helped Melbourne last year. He's now joined Adelaide. And potentially with him and his fitness expertise, they really had a sweet injury run last year. They really only lost Adam Tomlinson to an ACL, and then Harrison Petty, he was a very serviceable replacement. So they're going to get another golden run with injuries, or they're going to have to battle a bit more than they did last year. So, I think, if they get their best team on the park week in, week out, I can really see them back in the grand final once again.
Yeah, 100% agree.
This time at the MCG.
Yeah, 100% agree. Consistency is probably going to be their challenge this year. Like you said, keeping everyone healthy, keeping them all in the park, putting long periods of wins together and, dominating the competition, not playing down to the competition's level. Because they did that a little bit last year. But, I think if, they stand up for the big games and if they can keep that up, they will put on a lot of points this year.
Yeah, well, that's a very good point because they did lose to Adelaide and lose to Collingwood last year, and then, who are down bottom 4, but then whenever they played a top 4 team, seemed to turn it up. So, making sure that they're on song against the lower clubs can be an area that they can improve.
So then we've got to talk about another Melbourne club up in the north, though. North Melbourne finished with 4 wins, 17 losses, with 1 draw for 18th place for them. I guess it's only up for them. Well, I guess they can finish last. They could finish last again, but everything else is upwards. So
can only improve.
Yeah, what do you think for them? They did get the first round pick, and he arrives into the squad. What do you think for them?
Yeah, so Jason Horne-Francis, as you've just alluded to, he's going to bring some improvement. I think it's now their second year under coach David Noble, so players are now familiar with him and his way of doing things, how he wants them to play. They'll probably be a bit more settled this year than last year. I think Jai Simpkin, Luke Davies-Uniacke, a few of their younger midfielders, they started to show some real improvement towards the end of last year. So they'll be hoping they can take another step up this year, a few more games into them. But the biggest issue is, I think, just a lack of genuine A-graders. And sadly, their best player for the past few years, Ben Cunnington, he is currently away receiving treatment for testicular cancer. I think it's his second round of treatment. So, yeah, that's sad news. And, first and foremost, he's got to get healthy before worried about, whether he's going to play football again. But I think he did make an appearance at one of the training sessions over summer just to say hello to the boys, and that was quite a boost for the whole club. So, we'll be hoping he can get back. But, his loss is not one they'll have to recover from.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. You've got them there with 6 wins as a prediction, which is 2 more, of course, than last year, which would be a good result improvement. Hopefully bump them out and not get the spoon. My question was going to be, though, how many games do they play in Tasmania this year? Because I think most of their wins come from when they play down in Tassie. So that would be my question. How do they have more? Are they going to play? What did they play last year? They play 4 games in Tassie.
Yeah, they probably had a bit more than normal last year because of COVID. Tassie seemed to be a place that got a few more games. I think both Hawthorn and North Melbourne usually play about 3 games down in Tassie. So, so then they've got to maybe find 3 wins outside of Tasmania.
Exactly, yeah. What do you got there?
So, it looks like they're booked for 4 games at Bloodstone Arena.
So they need to find those 2 games outside of Tasmania to get to your 6-win prediction and hopefully avoid the spoon. Where are we? Back to Adelaide. Port Adelaide this time. They finished second, of course, last year. 17 wins, 5 losses. They won their home qualifying final against Geelong, but then lost the prelim final against Western Bulldogs by, again, another small margin in a large 71 points. Where do you think they go to from here? To me, it's felt like in that final, they lost their marbles, maybe is the analogy. It just kind of all went out the window and they got run over. Do you think they're lacking something veteran-wise, some steel, some metal?
They just really got jumped in that first quarter. I think the Doggies put 6 goals on them, and they kind of put their heads down and tail between the legs and kind of rolled over a bit easy. Yep. That kind of happened in both the prelims last year. But where they're hoping they can get better, I think. Their young brigade of Zach Butters, Connor Rosie, they're really hoping they can take the leap because they're now in their 4th season. All first-round draft picks who showed promise in year 1, a bit of improvement in year 2, but then last year, both of them missed big chunks of time. Rosie only played 6 games, Butters 7. They're the ones who provide the X factor, who can provide the improvement for Port. So. Butters and Rosie will be the ones that will, looking out for them to see if they can improve. Port will improve. But the biggest issues, I think, Peter Laddams, he was the kind of like number 2 ruck. He's now gone to Sydney, and so the question: who's going to support Scott Lysette as their ruck when Lysette needs to rest? Who's the kind of second option? They've got the 4 tall forwards in Charlie Dixon, Mitch Georgiades, Todd Marshall, and then Jeremy Finlayson from GWS. But none of those really stand out as a genuine option. I think Charlie, he takes the rucks inside forward 50, but they're not going to move him up into the midfield or the defensive side to kind of ruck while Lysette's on the bench. So... that's probably a big loss for them, losing Laddams. And then I think Port Adelaide, a bit similar to Brisbane. Yeah, they've lost home finals, so they've lost home prelims the last 2 seasons, when most teams haven't had the luxury of playing at home. But Port Adelaide's been able to have home finals at Amy's Adelaide Oval.
Yep.
Haven't been able to get across the line. So do they have what it takes to make it to the GF and win the GF? So I see Port and Brisbane as very similar this year. They've both been up the top for a little while, but haven't been able to climb the mountain all the way.
100% agree.
And so I think, again, should be up there contending for top 4. But I reckon if it doesn't happen this year, that's the premiership window closed.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely agree with that, Mickey, and those sentiments. And whether they've got what they need, this is probably the same problem Brisbane have got, whether they've got what they need to tip them over the edge is the question. So we'll have to see coming season. It'll be interesting to watch. Something else that'd be pretty interesting to watch will be where Richmond ends up, because the dustyless Richmond ended up being 9 wins, 12 losses, 1 draw to finish 13th, to be missed the finals for the first time since 2016. I think a lot's going to be riding on where they finish on how, seems like Dusty's back and he's all healthy, how far they will go with that squad. But I think, as you list, is one of the big issues here, very much like Geelong, they're starting to get a bit long in the tooth. So what are your thoughts with Richmond there, Mickey?
Healthy Dusty does make a difference. I think he can still win a game off his own boot, but he's not 2017 Dusty that kind of just took the league by storm and probably had one of the greatest seasons ever. He's not going to do that again in 2022. So he can still win a game for him, but he's not back where he used to be. But much like Melbourne, I think they're going to be loving being back at the G. During their dynasty there, they were almost unbeatable at the G. Tiger Army loves getting out, supporting him, make that huge roar. They'll love that this year. And then addition for them, Robbie Tarrant. He's a fullback come across from North Melbourne. Adding him into that back line, I think it gives them more flexibility with how they use Noah Bolter. He could keep him in the back line, or they could swing him up forward. And then Dylan Grimes as well. He doesn't have to take the big, strong forward. You can have Tarrant do that, and Grimes can be used with a bit more flexibility. So there's some areas that the Tigers will get better this year. As we've said, they getting a bit older now. Do they still have that speed that there was a trademark when they were just winning? The move the ball on at all costs and just outrun teams. Do they still have that as they've got a bit older?
Do they? And is Shea Bolton still playing for them? Do you think he can fill that role as as their quick, fast middle dude?
Yeah, I think so. I think they've been trialling Daniel Rioli, who has been a forward for them. They've been trialling him on in the back line. So again, try and run some speed. But Bolton, I think Bolton's one of those players that plays better when Dusty's in the lineup. He has to shoulder a bit more of a load than he probably can bear when Dusty was out. Trying to be Dusty 2.0, but they can probably use him in a bit more of a forward half role when Dusty's in there, rather than having to run Bolton through the centre bounce kind of thing. But they've got Cochin is no longer the captain for them. They're now handing over to Dylan Grimes. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes from under Cochin. Notoriously during their kind of premiership era, kept things very light. You could see them at quarter time, 3/4 time, having a joke in the huddle. Things were very relaxed. It'll be interesting to see what kind of captain and what kind of leadership style does Dylan Grimes bring to the Tigers this year. So I've got them in there in the 8 to 12 log jam, but of that log jam, probably the most likely of those teams to make the 8.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. They've still got that veteran talent like we talk about, that they will challenge those guys with the younger up-and-comers. So,
that's, as long as I guess we sort of said as long as they stay healthy the whole season through.
Yeah, I think Dusty.
That's a big question mark.
Dusty's injury last year was more of a freak injury than something that's kind of going to be reoccurring. So I think he'll be back and he'll be good to go for the whole season. So not too worried there. And having Dusty around, like Mickey said, is going to win them a lot of games. So yeah, fair comment. St Kilda up next, finished with 10 wins, 12 losses in the 10th spot in that logjam we have mentioned. Where do they get better?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit hard with the Saints because they're a bit, you're not quite sure what you're going to get last year. I think they, as the record shows, they didn't lose too many in a row. They never won too many in a row. They're kind of up, down, up. But where they might get better, I think they've struggled to find a good role for Brad Hill since he joined the club, former Hawk and former Docker, but maybe found a spot for him on the half-back line, providing that run, plenty of dash, could be, he could cement him in that spot. And I think Jaron Geary, he was a bit of a strange choice as a captain, probably not well known outside of St Kilda, but now Jack Steele, he's a skipper. He had a fantastic year last year. Came 5th in the Brownlow, 2nd best and fairest, 2nd All Australian, and then if the Saints can follow his lead, put on that cape, man of steel, and I think he's a smoky for the Brownlow. I would say this year because a few of these doggies and demons guys, they're loaded teams. But Steele is by far and away the best player on his club.
Oh yeah,
and he's a enforced former Canberra lad, so special place for us. But
got to get it around him,
So, what are their issues, Mickey? Health? They're struggling a little bit?
Already. I think every team obviously health is an issue, but already some dramas at Moorabbin. Hunter Clark broke his wrist in the Amy Community Series match, and Jack Billings did his hamstring. So they're going to be out for the first month. Nick Caulfield already lost for the season with ACL. And then Paddy Ryder, he's a question mark for round one with an Achilles. He's a bit long in the tooth now. When Ryder and Marshall played last year, they won more than they lost. So he's an important one for the structure of their team. And then Zach Jones, he's taken time away from the club to deal with mental health. So, who knows the timeline on that isn't, certain by any means. So, some key players for St Kilda are already missing, and we haven't even got to round one yet. That's not good signs.
So prediction looks like probably in that logjam. Again, probably competing, depending on which St Kilda team shows up for you week in, week out. Stuck in that logjam of 8 to 12 and playing their way into the finals.
Yeah, I think so. Probably just 10th last year. You can see them probably doing that again.
Yeah. So what do we got next? Sydney, the last one? No, we got West Coast afterwards. Yes. So, and Bulldogs. I was just trying to. I can't count them, so I was just trying to work it out. So Sydney up next. They finished 15 wins, 7 losses for 6th place. They were eliminated in that final by 1.2 GWS. Probably should have won that game by all accounts. Were trailing by 6 points and kicked 5 behinds in a row, so that doesn't help your chances. So I think of all the clubs we talked about, Sydney for me feel like the one outside of Buddy, of course, on the ascendancy. Like they've got a good young core. Buddy, of course, is old and he's trying to get his 1,000, I believe. He's still 1 or 2 short of that.
He's 995.
So 5 to go. So outside of that, but I think the rest of the clubs kind of done real well last year and probably went over as where they thought they'd go last season with that young talent. So hopefully that young talent can take another step and move them forward.
Yeah, I see them really improving. They really improved last year, but I see them continuing on. Errol Goulden, Braden Campbell, Chad Warner, Logan McDonald, they're all first-year players who made an impact last year. another preseason, those kids, that's only going to have helped them. And a good news story, I think, is that Paddy McCartan, he's a former number 1 pick for St Kilda, just had loads of head and concussion issues, but he's now found a spot at Sydney, reinvented himself as a defender. He's got his brother Tom back there in the defensive line with him, and they look like really good options as kind of tall defenders, shoring up Sydney's back line. But it's just good to see him healthy and on the park again. And another piece of the puzzle that'll be helping Sydney get better. And I really see the only thing that may be holding them back, can be Big Buddy play enough games and play the games at the right time of the season to make that impact for them. They're the X factor tip for the year. I think they're the ones that, they lost first week of the finals last year, but I can see them as the ones who could be a bit of a dark horse to kind of get into a prelim or even get into the GF. Bit bullish on the Swans this year.
They really could finish anywhere inside the top 8. So they could, sneak in. They could be in the middle pack there, or they could be right at the top. Like, it's really dependent on these young boys, as we were talking about, taking that step. And healthy Buddy kicking. I'm not going to say 100 goals, but but a lot of goals for them this year. Or manage him. Like, he plays the big games. He plays the games important towards the end of the year, and the other boys can step up in his absence while he's unavailable. So, it'd be interesting to see how they go.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do they game manage Buddy a little bit more this season, rest him for the games that might not matter as much? I mean,
they kind of did that last year anyway. And I think they've got goal kicking options. Tom Papley, Isaac Heaney, I think they will probably kind of look to Buddy won't play all 22 regular season games, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So moving on to West Coast, they finished with 10 wins, 12 losses to get into 9th spot, and they missed out on the finals for the first time since 2014. How do we see them improving?
Yeah, I'm not sure they will, actually. Yeah. So I think West Coast my kind of sliders down the ladder for this year. 9th last year, but where to begin for this year? I think over the summer was the retirement of Brad Shepherd. He was a All-Australian in 2020. He retired due to ongoing concussion related symptoms, which is really unfortunate for him because very, very good player. One of the better small to medium defenders in the entire league. So his loss is a big one. It's only just happened in the last week, but Jack Darling, he's rejoined the team, had a long kind of holdout.
Got his jab.
COVID vax. Yeah, so, look for a long time that they're going to have to, play without him, which would be not ideal because Josh Kennedy, he's pretty old these days. So, so it'll be interesting to see, does Darling slip into their round 1 team? What's his conditioning been like while he's been away? Obviously hasn't played any pre-season or intra-club matches. So, whether he requires a bit more conditioning before he gets out on the park. But a bit like St Kilda, but worse, they've already got a long injury list. Oscar Allen, Liam Duggan, Dom Sheed, Elliot Yeo, they're all missing round 1. Luke Shuey, captain, he's questionable with hamstring. He's just his hamstrings must look like Play-Doh. They had consistent issues, but I mean Sheed, Yeo, and Shuey are that's their first choice midfield, and that 2 out of the 3 are definitely out, and the third is a question mark. You don't want to be going into the season like that. So
I've also
I kind of see them dropping down to maybe around 13th or 14th, which is a bit unusual. The West Coast, one of those teams that they just seem to be able to find a way to compete year in, year out, and win the bulk of their games over in Perth. But I think this is a year that they kind of slide down the table a bit.
Yeah, that's it. I've just got here, Tim Kelly's also just been tested positive for COVID, so he's going to be missing round 1 as well.
Yeah, okay. So he was probably that fourth midfielder who would be in their top 4. So, yeah. They're going to start the season 0-1 by the sounds of it.
Are they going to be playing less games in in Western Australia this year due to the Victoria opening up? Does that hurt their chances as well?
Yeah, I don't know what they'd be about one of the only places that have still got restrictions that they've got to deal with over there, and whether that's going to be holding them back a bit more. Yeah, definitely won't enjoy some of the home field advantage that they've enjoyed in the past few years, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So then I think we're on to the last one.
Doggies to finish up.
Yeah, Western Bulldogs, they did finish last year with 15 wins, 7 losses, and were 5th. They were midway through the third quarter. Looked like they would be premiers before they get murdered by the Melbourne. Where do we see them improving? They did have a really good list last year. They do get Dunkley back, I believe, after his ACL. So what are your thoughts on this club?
He had a shoulder injury, Dunkley.
Who am I thinking they did the ACL?
I mean, obviously, had a great season last year to make it to the grand final.
Yeah.
I think they've got the deepest midfielder in the league.
Easy.
Got Treloar and Dunkley were a bit underdone last year, but you add them to Bontempelli, McRae, Libba, and Baz Smith. That's a 6 deep midfield that's better than anyone else for sure. So keep running those guys through there. They're going to win plenty of games for the Doggies. I think another area they can improve is improvement from Jamara Ugle-Hagen.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, quite, I think he was number 2, but essentially number 1 pick because he was through the academy from 2020. He only played the 5 games, kind of fairly modest output of 7 goals in those games. Can they get improvement out of a 19-year-old in his second season, get him to take another step, another kind of string to their bow in their forward line? And I think a big one for them, you saw for Melbourne in the grand final how important Max Gawn and Luke Jackson were in the ruck.
Yep.
The Doggies for the ruck, the Tim English, Johnny English, as Sean likes to call him, now into his 6th season. He's played the 69 games. It kind of takes a time for those bigger boys to develop, to put on a bit of muscle, but it's time for him now, 24 years old, to really take the step up and be the player who the Dogs are hoping him that he could be. So if he can improve and feed that deep midfield that we just identified, they can get better than last year.
Yeah. I got my Joshes confused. The other one was Josh Bruce that I was thinking of.
Yeah, he did miss out, ACL. So I think he won't be good to go for the start of the season, but potentially midway through the season, he comes back.
Yeah. I think there was some stuff on social media showing that he was running around back at the start of January, but they don't reckon he's going to be back until around about August at the earliest.
That's pretty late.
Yeah, that was about the time I think he did his injury last year. It was like round 17 or 18, so it was pretty late in the season.
Yeah, very unlucky for him.
Yeah.
Hey, if they're doing well, that's a good inclusion to have to make a finals push.
Well, it's a good finals run once he gets back in there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So besides the mental scars, is there any other big issues you see for this club? They just got to take that next step.
Yeah, and that was, has conceding 17 of the last 18 goals in the grand final. Is that going to leave a scar? It'll be interesting. It's very good from the AFL that just first up, grand final rematch straight away. Can Doggies, they look across from them and they see the guys who just belted them in the grand final. Can they get their revenge straight away? That's going to be really telling, I think. And they've had to sit with that performance all summer. Has that been fuel to the fire to go one step better, or has that kind of crippled them? So,
that's it.
But I think no reason why they won't be pushing for the top 4 and pushing even to go one better than last year again. Very deep list as we've been speaking about.
Yeah, agree. They're definitely in the top 4. So to finish us off, I wanted to ask, who's your grand final? Who's your pick?
Yeah, so I think I've identified potentially, the 2 grand finalists from last year, Melbourne and Dogs, and then Sydney as the kind of 3 teams that I think I'm really hot on. I'll go Melbourne Sydney grand final.
I'm going to be a bit biased and stick with the favourites here, but I think I'm going to go with a D's Lions final. I hope the Lions get in there. But I think D's, by all accounts, hot favourites to repeat for me. Ms. Monkey?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. A lot of those teams make so much sense. D's definitely have a good run at it. They definitely get back in there. I'd probably go... Yeah, anyone, Cats, Lions, or Swannies, I reckon, could be in there. I mean, Dogs could be in there again. It's just really hard to pick out of those, like that top 4. Those 5 teams we mentioned,
Yeah, there's 5 or 6 teams that are definitely in the running. We've got one clear favourite in the D's and probably a close second there with the Doggies. But yeah, any one of the others, again, on their day, can make a push. Get a win, and then be playing in a grand final. So another very interesting electric season to come our way in the next 22 weeks. So
2 days.
Yeah, it starts in 2 days, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Of course, I want to say thank you to you, Mickey, for joining us to finish off the potty this week as our AFL correspondent. Thank you for jumping in.
Good to join you, boys.
It's good to chat.
Get into the footy, and that's it. Super excited for the season to kick off.
Definitely.
Very much so,
yeah. Well, we'll let you go, Mickey. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, lads.
We'll chat soon. See you later, mate.
Catch you later, boys.
Catch ya.
And I think, Mr. Monkey, that'll probably finish us up as well on the potty. So it's been a good one. Another long one. Go to the preview.
Rushed through a lot of sport.
Shout out to our main man, Peppy. Hope he's feeling a little bit better. Had to nick off. But we get at us in the comments. Love to hear your thoughts on any of our predictions and the stuff we talked about. Follow us. Give us a subscribe on all the different socials and the likes. They all help out. As Monk said Peppy said in the intro, jump on the Carlton draft for the On The Esky to get yourself some gear. Esky for 20% off. Otherwise, that'll do us for this week. I did see before Australia declared for 556, so they bat for the first 30 minutes this morning for absolutely no reason.
For no reason,
so we'll see what that means, but they will come out. Pakistan now into bat with 2 overs in, so draw very, very likely.
Yeah, it's looking at that way. Yeah, but we'll obviously recap that.
Yep. Talk more sports during the week.
Yeah, we'll have round 1 of the AFL under wraps, round 2 of the NRL. Might touch on, I guess we'll touch on
free
F1
agency,
for the first
F1,
time.
Free agency.
Yeah.
Well, we might not, the race might not have happened.
But
the free agency for NFL kicks off, of course, on Wednesday, as we talked about. So lots of sport, as always.
Lots of sport.
If there was any issues with the stream, we do apologise. That's just James's potato internet, but hopefully it was all good. And we'll see you everyone next week. Thanks for tuning in. Bye, lads.
Bye.
See you later. Bye.